Welcome, misfits, to this episode of Midnight Ranting. A woo, a woo, a woo. The 700 Club.
You feel that? Feel the Jesus coming on?
I feel it. I'm hoping for a second coming, in fact. In this episode of Midnight Ranting, we are celebrating 700 members by watching a short video of Kenneth Copeland celebrating Pat Robertsons' birthday on the 700th Club.
His 700th birthday?
That is pretty much how much he looks on
he
this
might
video.
Be evidence of the Bible, people living to be 800-900 years old. He might be a living fossil.
He may be Noah. I mean, we should check and see if he has any skills in boat making.
I mean, Ken Hovind said Noah was probably 15 to 20 feet tall, so I don't know. You do shrink a little bit as you get older, so maybe, yeah, there you go.
I know. And hey, you can have the whole family, of course, because we want to be fair, so it's not just, but clearly it should be you and your whole family should be able to make whole boat. And two of every species, not just as if one of every species wouldn't have been impressive enough, but two.
Yeah. Well, hey, there you go.
I'm up for it.
Praise God.
Anyway, and reflecting on their friendship. So come join.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Bring a tear to your eye.
Come join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, as we reflect on how much jet fuel these two saved by being a 501c3.
Ooh.
I want to thank, that's right, baby. Thank everyone out there on the rising intertubes. Now is your chance. If you have your vaccines or your booster shots, get your 5G ready so that you can Wi-Fi connect. Boop.
All I need is the Bible. I don't need no damn vaccines. I got this. Fuck
exactly. That's right, James. You just need one book. It's a science book, a history textbook. Just don't call it a mythological book. I mean, that would be silly.
And if you're having an issue where one of your table legs is a little shorter than the other, you can stick it under there. It'll help it right out. There you go. Your table won't wobble.
There you go. Probably the most useful thing you can do. Hey, we're having fun. In fact, you should join us on our Bible studies. We run a skeptic Bible study about once a week. So come join us. And if you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you can get reminders to see our premieres or join our live streams. Hi out there, Internet.
700 subscribers. We couldn't have done it without each and every one of you guys.
I know, right? We couldn't have done it without, I'm trying to remember the PBS slogan, without viewers like you.
Viewers like you, yeah.
I don't know what this is. Shake weights. Going back to shake weights. Anyway.
So if you call our prayer line, we will pray with you for about 30 seconds, and then we'll start asking you for cash.
Is that premature prayer? 30 seconds?
Basically, yeah.
Basically?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just...
I mean, when you got callers in the queue, you got to move through them. I mean, hey, God already knows what you need. You don't have to sit there and give God a fucking laundry list of everything you ever need. He knows it. Just say you love him and whatever.
Get to the spiel. Worship, worship. I love you. I love you.
And then pull that credit card out. Pull that credit card out and, yeah.
10%. 10%.
Minimum. I
And
mean, that's just like the starting floor. You know, if you just want to do the bare minimum. But, I mean, Amy, you want to go to heaven and have everybody say, and Jesus point to you and say, she only gave the bare minimum. She's here, but still. You'll be cleaning
I
Smokey
don't know.
Saint's trash.
What level
taking out
of hell
Smokey
is
Saint's
that?
trash. You'll be taking out Smokey Saint's trash for eternity.
Oh,
Yeah,
gee,
yeah.
You're gonna do that to me? Okay. No, get
That's
it.
hell. That's hell.
Whew. Hell never makes sense. I still never get that concept. We're definitely going to torture the enemies of God. Why? Oh, because I'm an enemy of God. Oh, okay. That totally makes sense.
Reasons.
Definitely reasons. Nonetheless, we are a skeptic channel, including the two schmucks you see before you.
Grade A schmucks. Yeah.
Grade A, baby. Though after the video, we'll be opening up the floodgates so anyone can say what's on their mind about the topic. We'll also give everyone their own opening and closing statements. Atheist or theist, liberal or conservative, come as you are, just some sheets. Perfectly good sheets. Just wash the sheets. You're going to do that to me.
And don't use the guest towels as toilet paper like you did last time.
I know. I'm gonna have to gunk. You're gonna gunk anywhere that sticks and isn't shake weights. Or is it? Anyway, you can also find our Patreon page at patreon.com/AV which helps us make even more fun content. And we don't sell the invisible product.
Yeah, you know what you're getting.
Including awesome Patreons like KO Champ. Went for the head this time, which is something I do often. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Beat me to it. Woo! Thank you so much, KO Champ. And
thank you.
Also, us from the Atheist Roundtable and Tang, the Atheist Network Group. Connecting atheists, in fact, in an event this October. Are you looking for better debates? Are you looking to meet better people and have better conversations? Come to Better this October.
Do it. Well, get Amy out there.
Woohoo! I think I'm going. I got to figure out which tier. I'm kind of leaning towards the top tier. I don't know. Have a good time, baby.
It'll be one to remember, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things I have to give the theist as an anti-theist is that community is just so strong. Within the human experience, that sense of belonging, that it is the one positive that I give. Now,
you're working for something bigger than yourself. It's
often checkered a lot. Yeah. So there are things I could, let's just say, but I'll put that before I start the criticism. I'll leave it on the community. Yes, that is one of the things that I think theists can do well, but I know that we can do it even better.
We can do it better because we don't care if you believe an arbitrary set of nonsense from the Bronze Age.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Well, you don't have to believe it.
As Peter will say, we are like herding cats, and yet... even all the political stuff aside, even though a lot of us do have a vast political spectrum, somehow we seem to agree on like these fundamentals of science, of humanism, of secularism that just, oh my God, it's like it eliminates all the fat from the food. I don't know how. I'm trying to think of a proper analogy. Now we're just having healthy covers. Oh, you think this and I think that.
That's
fantastic. Yeah. You want to have a scone and coffee over this, and then we can leave later, and it'll be a great time.
You could really get to the bottom of everything once you cut the nonsense out of it. Bickering about which Star Trek captain was the best, or Star Wars movie.
And it's not even, it's like a really weird combination where it's like woo and dogma. Like, it's not just an isolated superstition, because I do think religion is a superstition, but it's superstition plus mine is right. And let me tell you, you're wrong, because actually you have 90% of it right. But do you see here on column 7 on verse 3, we actually disagree on that verse, and I don't know what to tell you. You're going to hell. I don't care about the other 90%. You burn in, you're my enemy.
You roasted.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have to start an entire new denomination, because I read one verse a little differently than everybody else. There you go. Make it the 9,873rd denomination of Christianity.
That's right.
Join the club.
Look, I know it's right, and I can help convince you. Trey, take my word for it. Swing, swing, stab, a stab, a stab, a stab, a stab. Okay. Nonetheless, praise God. Praise religious wars.
We love us. Thank you, guys.
Woohoo! Send and love us. And the whole Tang gang, yo. I can't.
Great crew over there. Always doing something fun.
I know. They're like our the brother group over there. So sending love. But Ian! Woohoo!
Ian!
Bum, 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 bum. To scale, and now this reminds me, I think I was saying, I forget which video game I was using, but I just saw Free Guy, good movie. Now it reminds me of this. So now we have health points. Oh, I feel fantastic. Thank you, Ian. Woo-hoo.
Thanks, Ian. Be on Facebook any minute now. Popping up on the
That's right. Saying love. It doesn't
Facebook
matter. Are you watching on YouTube? What is up? Are you watching on Twitch? That's right. We stream on Twitch. How you doing? And yes, baby, we are Facebook Live right now, saying hello to everyone on the interwebs.
Now, if you want to be like Titan Uranus, and he can be on all 3 at once. In fact, he's probably got one of those rooms with like hundreds of monitors on the wall. Because I think he set the record. I think he timed Otangelo out on 5 different streams simultaneously. Once, something like that.
See, but here, that is both impressive to Titan and Otangelo. I want to give...
Yeah. Otangelo, he's on all the streams, too. It's like, no matter where you go.
It's like a Pokemon rivalry right there. Yeah. That was fantastic. Yeah. Go. Anyway, sending love to everybody.
Titan, Otangelo.
Woohoo! But also, and I have to find this may be a little bit too risque, but never, because when we're just talking about all these creationist claims, and let me tell you, when we're talking about the 2 very, very, very specific pastors, snake oil, whatever you want to call them. Anyway, they make us, and they make Grumpy go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
In fact, if you saw that shit show with Nephilim Free a couple days ago on Giants with Jim Majors, that was just that. I felt bad for Nephilim Free. He just got curb stomped, and he didn't even realize it. That was ugly.
Understand what a hill to die on, Giants. Like, of all the things, I know that I'm sure he's got scriptures to go boom, boom, boom. I still go back to, listen, people, human plus angel does not equal giant.
Yeah.
That's not how that works.
Are the angels 40 feet tall? How would they impregnate a human female if they were 8, 10, 20 times the size of a human being?
All I'm saying It doesn't matter if it's the human or the angel. One of you get a paternity test. That's all I'm saying if it comes out of giant. Wow, he's 60 foot tall, exactly like you, honey. But I have wings.
Neff wanted to die on the hill of saying that, it talks about a spear being 7 pounds, and you would have to be like 20 feet tall to be able to throw a spear 7 pounds any considerable distance.
I'm sorry.
He kept saying that spears were only used as throwing weapons, not thrusting weapons, which is blatantly not true. Anybody who knows anything about ancient warfare knows that spears were used as a thrusting weapon. They would throw it once it became unwieldy, where you couldn't.
Did he just say the pointy thing wasn't a thrusting weapon?
He said they just used it to throw, and that was it.
Tactician here, but
they had like the pima or a javelin, which was primarily to be thrown, but the spear was a thrusting weapon.
Well, so can we go back to 7 pounds? Look, I'm not saying
less than a gallon of milk.
I can lift a lot here, but 7 pounds has to go to giant. We have to go straight to. There are no men on the world that can lift 7. We have to go right to giant. Okay.
Yeah. So he would not get off that hill. And anybody who knows anything about ancient warfare, you know that the spear would be used until the combat became so close quarters it was unwieldy. You would throw the spear then and pull your short sword out. But until then, you held onto your spear, kept your enemies at a further distance than otherwise. You actually preferred that spear because you can kill them when they're safely away from you.
I mean, so now he is making the claim. It really is like a movie. That it's not just that there were giants. He's now making the claim that these giants were wielding spears. They were going to war with people, baby.
Yeah, like David and Goliath. Remember the whole nonsense there, David and Goliath. But of course, Jim Majors, he did a really good job in that debate. He pointed out the tallest human that we have definitive knowledge of was 8 feet 10, 8 feet 11. The guy died when he was 22 years old because his body could not handle that immense weight.
I can't imagine your heart and a lot of other organs would be very happy with that.
Human body is not designed to be that big. Animals that big tend to be aquatic animals.
Also, how did the giant, the logistics? That's really, you can never get the legit, how did our heads are big, okay? For other animals, really big heads, okay? For a canal, and many, many, many women die in childbirth giving birth every year. You are going to tell me a giant... Girl, I hope you had vodka back then, or whatever alcohol that was they were passing around.
That's true. Can you imagine like a 25-pound baby woman trying to give birth to that? That would not be.
No, I can't.
That would not be. Yeah.
But speaking of sailor princesses, thank you so much, Diane.
Thank you, Diane.
I need to get the sailor. She has like a wand. I should get the wand. It has like a crystal thing in the center.
Wand?
Yeah, Sailor Moon. She has a wand to fight evil. You need a wand to fight evil as you do.
Talk to Amaretto about that. She'll hook you. I'm sure she's got something.
There you go, baby.
Laying around.
Send in love, Diana. And our episode 2 of Talk Skeptic to Me just came out. The mythical origins of humankind. Because, James, did you know that it turns out that there were many mythical origin stories to how we came about? And I lean on that word.
So what you're saying is they all copied off of Judaism? But the Jews were the first ones, right? And everybody else just copied that story, right?
Well, Yeah, basically the copy off a copy off a copy. It's amazing. It's like Whisper Down the Lane. Who knows where the fun begins? It was probably an oral tradition. But then they wrote it down and all the... Where's my...
Would you like Amy to tell us more about oral traditions?
Oh, baby, would I. Hey, when you're good at what you do... Anyway,
never work a day in your life. When you love what you do, you never work a day.
Exactly. Excuse me. Good protein. Anyway, Pat, send in.
Hey, Pat out in the chat.
Woohoo! Send in love. What is up, Pat? We
commenting
are,
on the ridiculousness of Nephilim Free's knowledge of ancient warfare. That it's just ridiculous. Anybody who knows that, I could not get over that. Because it's just so wrong. Anybody who knows about ancient warfare, that's just going to smack you in the face like, no, Neff, that's not how they were used.
It's a Xenu level claim. If you're coming out swinging with giants, I don't know what were
20 feet tall people. Then he got to the one guy in the Bible mentions like having an 11-foot bed. And he's like, that guy would have to be at least 10 feet tall. Or he could just have like a bunch of women in bed with him. You see Shaquille O'Neal's bed; it's like a half court.
I feel like Neff just searches.
Very big, very tall, but he's not superhuman. He's probably in his 50s now, so he definitely is not superhuman.
I feel like Neff just searches for big things, and after he then re-puts the search mode back to safe. I think that he just takes a bunch of those pictures and like, look at that. How do you explain that? Yeah. I don't know. It's like looking at a jacuzzi that holds like 20 people. It's like, does one person, how could you explain?
The human footprints in granite, which if you know anything about granite, you can't make footprints in it. It's not that kind of rock. So obviously somebody just came along and said, just make a little imprint in there. There you go. Not real, though. Not real.
It's a conspiracy, James. Yeah. Anyway, we're being skeptical. Yeah, thank you, Dale Pastel.
Yes.
We're just asking for empirical evidence. Is that so hard? It's the wrong tool, James. The wrong tool. You need to use older tools that are no longer. Honestly, we use philosophy. I hate the fact, don't hate the fact, it's too strong of a word, because there's a common usage out there that like science is a subset of philosophy. Science is not a subset of philosophy. Science came from philosophy. Philosophy has usage. It's good in two matters. It's good in that it just gets you thinking about some of the deepest questions in life. It gets you thinking about conundrums and really questioning about who we are. And it's also a good first stage in hypothesizing, in saying, what the heck's going on out there? This is what I think, and I'm trying to back it up, hopefully with maybe logical arguments, and really get some premises out there. But after that, you gotta, excuse my language, fuck around and find out. Okay, that's what science is. It's great that you have your everyone has their theory. Fantastic. You have to go out there.
You can't just go with philosophy like precepts. But you can't. Even T-Jump, who loves philosophy, says you can't rely on that alone to answer big questions.
Philosophy is, once again, it is great to have a strong epistemological foundation. You want to understand what you understand. But if you are going to use science, if you're going to get on the plane, you're going to order the ticket by using your phone to get on the website, to then drive your car to the place with the plane and fly yourself to a debate about how do we know if we're a brain in a vat, therefore God. It's like, I'm sorry, we get logic from other things that have nothing to do. I don't really even understand how a conscious being gets us logic. I feel like it's a PR deal. Like they just say it over and over because no, I don't. Natural laws, generally speaking, seem to create a very, 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 very small sliver of life. Life might be vast out there, but we don't have evidence for that. All we have evidence for right now is just us, empty, pale, blue solar system.
And we've really only been able to look for, roughly 100 years. So,
yeah. Well, it's been basically, we had the Enlightenment era, which got us really, we freed ourselves from religion. The deists kind of took over as far as a lot of government and a lot of institutions so far. We believe in God, but he's not doing anything. Thus, we should probably do something.
Yeah, figure out how it works on our own.
Exactly. And so, I'm very proud of a lot of the systems. I like our Constitution. There's a reason it has amendments. It's actually built into the name, but they were building towards things better, and that allowed us to get the scientific revolution. And so we were able to then build off of another thing I was thinking about. Like if they were able to pick up on a lot of things that came before that were in the Muslim Golden Age, and before we're in, maybe we're in a Byzantine or some sort of Roman or even Christian later on empire that passed it through. But every time when these theists point to those civilizations, they're always like, look at how secular and open-minded they were. They accepted everybody. They were like, whatever, do whatever you want, and knowledge and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, wasn't it a great time when they're like, basically, yeah, we have this religion thing, but it's going to be kind of over here. And we're just going to, we're going to separate it. And our citizens are going to be the religion. And we are going to just do all of it. We're going to do science or natural, what came from this natural philosophy. And
that's why it really is upsetting when you hear the Christians make the argument like, look, Isaac Newton was a Christian, so was Galileo, so was Kepler. They were all Christians. That didn't impede their science. They all believed in God. Even Albert Einstein wasn't a devout atheist. He, I guess, could be more of an agnostic, but it depends on who you talk to. They'll say, he was a Christian. Yeah, whatever.
But all of those people were heretics of their day. They believed in views that would probably have gotten them, or did get them killed, depending on like Galileo. And so
he was imprisoned. Yeah, he was imprisoned for heresy.
Because you just have a slight difference. And just because they were geniuses also, Isaac Newton probably would not have the foundations of chemistry if it weren't for him and Newtonian physics. Nonetheless, he believed in alchemy. So take the good stuff, throw out the bad stuff.
I mean, the thing is that back in that time, there was the God of the gaps. There was a lot of gaps to hide their God in. So it made sense that there were a lot of processes we just had no idea, no ability to even comprehend. And so God seemed like a very reasonable, almost necessary thing at the time, because there were so many things that we just had no idea how to even begin to explain. But slowly, as those gaps have gotten smaller and smaller over the centuries, they're running out of space to hide God in.
Exactly. And it makes sense thousands of years ago to not know that there were galaxies, to just say, to make mythology around them, or that to not know that we would move past the clouds, and thus to associate deities past where they could see. What else are you going to do? Can't go up
Who
there.
are you going to call? Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters or Yahweh, apparently. But who are we going to call?
Ghostbusters.
We're going to call Dave Gar.
Dave Gar.
With a big round earth, baby. That round booty. Bum, 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 bum. I have still yet.
The earth is spinning so fast, you know, we should just be flying off if we were spinning. I mean, it makes one revolution every 24 hours. That's just blazing fast.
It's like the Flash.
Yeah, we should be flying off into space, going that fast.
And I honestly don't understand the motivations between the flat earth. I only get two. And that is, come on, man. Are you going to believe the government? Are you going to believe what people just feed you? And the second...
Science has been wrong before.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Have you seen a flat earth? Though if you ask them that, they'll just say, well, I'm not proposing a model.
Well, they'll say, yeah, look around. It looks flat. That's the default.
It's those fisheye lenses, James, that we have in our eyes.
Yeah.
They just make it look round. But yes, thank you so much, Dave Gar. And the head hyena of the skeptic pack. Nom 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 nom. Fallacies. Rum 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 rum. Scott, dude.
Hey, Scott.
Woo-hoo. Hi, Scott.
That's right. That's right, Norfolk. Fish eyes, even, because our eyes are round like fish eye lenses.
That's right.
So you can't even trust what you're seeing.
You can't trust your eyes, especially with that 5G chip in there. Between the 5G chip and your fisheye eyes, who are you really going to trust anymore?
I mean, when they activate that chip, we'll all probably start just worshiping Satan on command. Yeah. We'll start sacrificing your next door neighbors, and you know, cats and dogs will be living together. It'll be absolute pandemonium.
And see, here I was just gonna sell timeshares with Satan in hell, but I don't know. Be raptured with the people up there, or go down to hell.
What did Alex Jones even said one time that
go
when
below.
the shit hits the fan, he is fully planning on eating his neighbors for him and his kids. Alex Jones is planning on cannibalism when
I've heard theists who tell me that if we convince them that God is not real, they will grab a knife and they'll just kill people. And it's just like, okie dokie, I'm going to move away from you now on the train, but you have a nice Sunday afternoon, sir. It's like, really? Really? If you didn't have someone who was watching you 24/7, 365, which, holy moly, once again, horrifying notion. Like, 1984 could not have written, even when you sleep, at least you get to...
No, God's there in your dreams, making sure you're not dreaming about anything naughty.
No, well, you wouldn't need to sleep, right? So, well, you would just, I imagine, who knows? Maybe there is, you do in heaven. They don't really go into that part, but just all the time, worshiping. So,
I imagine you wouldn't sleep.
Here, there,
a need of the body, so
everywhere.
You probably wouldn't sleep. I don't think you would eat there either. I mean, there's some Christians who say you will.
Well,
I think
that's another question I love to ask them is just, does your God have cells? Does he need to eat? And if you said no to those two questions, why is he a mind? Why is he conscious? Like, if he doesn't need to do, he gets to do all the cool things that consciousness do. He gets to make choices, of course, and he like gets to interact with people forever. And yeah, he gets to judge people. What would be consciousness without judging people? But like, having to gather food, having to get rid of food, having to, I don't know, deal with spatial temporal problems. I don't know.
Having to deal with diarrhea, upset stomach.
Well, it's just
enlarged prostate.
We're in an ecosystem. Like, there's just a whole bunch of things that not like just being a floating consciousness. And I know the floating consciousness in the sky. They'll say, it's not a sky, Daddy. Is it a mind of any sort? Is it even conscious? A slug is conscious, okay? And we are talking everything that James and I have just been teasing about in the fast 30 seconds, a slug does, okay? A slug needs to go out, get food. Yeah. The slugs need to hump each other so they can make baby slugs.
Sleep, breathe, fuck, shit.
Exactly. So I just want to know why. Why is it conscious in the first place? And the only reason I can come to is to create us. That's the only reason. They exist to create us, to make us into this story. They've been waiting this whole time in not space-time to make us. And that makes them a plot device. So
definitely.
Cool story, bro.
God's a plot device too.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Raging Atheist. Welcome to the stream.
Woohoo! Sup, Raging Atheist. I think I was just watching one of his uploaded streams. I have a bunch of. I have too many tabs open.
I saw one yesterday. I think he was talking about Spooky Saint. That debacle. And Otangelo, no, that's right. He was messing with Otangelo, and Otangelo got all sad and said he was being a bully.
That was on. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was a role play.
Marvin the Martian.
Martian. I don't know why Martians. There's two types. They sometimes have antennas. I think that comes from probably insects, or sometimes they have the smooth heads. But nonetheless, last but not least, Regis with our thespian skull, who it helps us talk and get through the Bible when we are being very, very thou and yea and nay and ho. And I'm going to burn you, but from a many thousand years.
He shall surely be put to death.
Strange fire, you do not say.
God's instant cremation service.
Yeah. And woohoo! Thank you so much to all of our Patreons. You are what make this possible, along with our mods out there in stream and our viewers who are what make everything possible. So send in love to you guys.
We just be talking to ourselves.
Exactly. We would just be ranting to the void, but instead we are here with you having fun and ba 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 ba
ba ba
ba ba ba
bam 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 rain
ba ba ma 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 ba la 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 bamba. It's like it's the name of the song, and I still could. Okay, it's right here, right in that old brain. Anyway, the 700 Club is a flagship show, meaning the most popular, well-known, or leading program of the Christian Broadcasting Network. Now, it's called the 700 Club for a quaint reason. You see, originally, the station wasn't bringing in enough profit after Pat had acquired it. About to go bankrupt, Pat decided to run a marathon show with a goal of getting 700 members, with each membership costing $10 a pop each month. The marathon was successful and was enough to keep the station financially solvent, thus becoming the model that the organization has used unchangingly for the past few decades. That's because Pat Robertson, along with his friend Kenneth Copeland, practice what they call the prosperity gospel. Quite simply, the theological notion that by giving money to the arbiters of God and helping do his will, wink, wink, that you too can be rich. One day, or not, because I wonder what the return policy is. Many of these preachers will tell their followers they will receive 10 times or more back towards what they donate. Don't you guys see? The more you spend, the more you save. In fact, these snake oil salesmen push the concept of seed donations. Yeah. A seed is a small amount of money that you can afford to give each week, month, or hopefully for years to come. That's what she said. Or he. This is building towards the ultimate payoff for you and your family. Namely, that your pastor's dream of owning a brand new jet can come true. Or whatever else is necessary to spread the good message. In fact, they often tell those in need, those who are living paycheck to paycheck, or even behind in debt, to give them money. Because, after all, the donations that go to the church, they're just seeds to the universe. God, the Holy Spirit, or whatever other name they give their bank account. Give me an effing break. So here we are, just passing our 700 members of the channel. Clearly, It takes only a tiny spark of a community to make a difference. Though it also makes me reflect on what we're trying to achieve here. Laughter, learning, curiosity, fun, and maybe a spoonful of irreverence. The biggest questions in life can be funny. After all, what is the meaning of life if not for epic dance? Because a community, a family, is a bunch of misfits who happen to love each other and care for each other. Sometimes through blood, sometimes through experience. And the wisdom comes from realizing that we are the only ones who can help each other. There isn't going to be some supernatural force doing the heavy lifting, the swooping in and saving part comes to you and me. So I thank you guys for being part of the channel with us. And I look forward to many more skeptical adventures moving into the future. Thank you. And woohoo! All right, James, how are you doing tonight? And what do you think? You ready to join the 700 Club?
I'm ready. Let's do it. This is going to be inspirational. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry. You're going to want to give all your money to Jesus. But yeah, let's get started. I briefly, Amy hit all the good points as usual. But yeah, we love doing the show. We love getting to talk to you guys. And yeah, let's get to it. You can't tax God. That's right. Young you, Amy?
Oh, I had myself double shotted. Remember, folks, to always double tap your zombies. And with that, we are going to what is that?
Let me
What about
see here.
indulgences?
Indulgences. So that I've told you about. I talked to you about that one before. That is the practice where, so the denominations who believe in purgatory believe that most people after their life, they will not be ready to go to heaven. They have to go to purgatory, which can mean a bunch of different things. It can be a place of torment, punishment, suffering, or just where your soul is cleansed of sin. But the Catholic Church used to sell these indulgences where you could have your time in purgatory cut short or even eliminated altogether. You wouldn't have to go and suffer for, I mean, it's not really biblically based, but there's some theologians who've said it could be up to millions or even billions of years for people who were extremely sinful. Like if you died with a lot of sin on your soul, you might be burning in purgatory for 1 billion years waiting to go to heaven. But if the church needed to raise money, if they needed to build a new building, a new church, or whatnot, they would sell these, and that was one of the things Martin Luther didn't like. He believed more or less that sins are forgiven by God, so it shouldn't be the church's authority to sell them. That people who can't buy their way into heaven faster. But that was a practice that they did at the time. Remember, John Tetzel, he was the guy that they used to send out to towns when they needed to build a new cathedral or whatnot. They would see he was a Dominican friar, and he would put posters all over the town. He's saying that he's going to be doing a presentation there, and then he would actually have like a torch brought out. He would stick his hand in the fire for about 5-8 seconds or whatever, enough to be singed, and then pull it out all black and burnt and show it to the people. And then he would tell the people, like, hey, that was like 8 seconds. Imagine that being you, not for a day, not for a week, not for a year, but forever. So you probably want to part with whatever money you have right now and turn that over to us. He got so bad that even the Pope, even the Catholic Church at the time, had to stop sending him out there. They had the last few years of his life, they had to confine him to the monastery because he was just too scandalous for the church to ignore anymore after that point. Let's see. So why does God pick preachers that need financial help? Well, a lot of these guys were already rich, but they seem to have gotten a lot richer since working for the G-Man, working for God. But here's the thing is, like, a lot of these people outside of religion, they're not dumb people. They're not talentless, skillless people. They could make a decent living. You know, like Creflo Dollar, we did him a couple weeks ago. He's a good speaker. He could be a speaker, a life coach. He could be, I'm sure he could work in business and make a good living for himself. He wouldn't own 2 Rolls Royces and a $60 million jet, but he would still be doing okay with it. But all of a sudden you add religion to that, and 2 Rolls Royces, $60 million jet.
And okay. Well,
no, Dante didn't invent purgatory. He didn't invent purgatory. That was a concept that had been around for hundreds of years. He just talked about hell and the purgatory, the limbo. It wasn't even really endorsed by the church. It was mostly a book that he wrote. It wasn't really meant to be factual, but a lot of our ideas have come from his writings.
And okay, with that, we're going to move into the opposing view, or rather, a short video with Kenneth Copeland celebrating Pat Robertsons' birthday and reflecting on their
happy birthday?
Life, friendship, and bank accounts.
You want to sing happy birthday to Pat, Amy?
Exactly. We can happy birthday to holy moly. You're actually going to take that much money from poor people? No. Oh, really? Okay, fine. And if you would like to see your comments on the screen, feel free to tag me or James in chat at Amy Newman. Woohoo! We will also have an hour or so of open mic after the video. And with that, let's get to the fun.
Well, it's a pleasure to welcome back my dear friend, Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth, it's so good to see you again.
Thank you. Happy birthday, sir.
It's so great to see you, too.
Happy birthday
So
gift is to Operation Blessing to help in all of this and all you,
bless your heart.
You and your people are doing to
well, you are so generous.
Enrich yourselves.
This will help bless people all around the world.
Oh, my.
So generous, Kenneth.
Of course.
God bless you. That's why God's blessed you so much. Hey, this is a lot.
Well, you got a lot.
Well, let's pray over this. Father, I thank you, Lord,
Pray.
to sow the seed now into Operation Blessing. And we pray that seed will multiply tenfold and 100-fold. And Lord,
tenfold, 100-fold.
Him and his dear wife and all the ministry they have. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, brother.
Cash money.
I was figuring it out today.
I just
They
like
never say how much it was.
It's better that they did it. I like it. I like that it's a stack of cash that's implied that it's a lot. It couldn't have been a better opening to 2 prosperity preachers just going one to each other, going, that's a big
2 people are
baby.
Each worth well over $200 million each. So you've got more than $500 million worth of money on stage now.
It's a publicity stunt, but they can't even help themselves in the publicity stunt. That's
brag about how rich they are.
Yeah, it's a seed. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, posting a seed.
Yeah.
So I guess if Kenneth gave like $10,000, which is a lot of money, I'd be out of most of our budgets. And I guess God will reward him with another $1 million.
I know. Should just
There you
multiply.
go.
Should just keep on giving.
Yeah, why don't you just give it all, Kenneth? Then you'll
Exactly.
you'll
Just
be a
keep on
billionaire.
shaking.
Just keep giving.
If that worked, they should just give to each other. Just why even work with other people?
Give
Just
seed
give
to each other,
people.
Amy.
Exactly.
Give seed to each other.
Just give seed to each other. Just cycle off, and I feel it'd be a good relationship.
45 years.
Is that right?
Mid-70s.
Yeah, yeah.
The picture out there in the hall, the sideburns are down to here, you know.
We've all changed. Yeah.
Amen.
He looks like a troll right there. That was a
fabulous pie.
Kenneth has always looked like he has always looked like a supervillain to me. I mean, this
his
guy
facial
looks.
skills, everybody has weird ones, but his are just off the chart.
Yes, they always look like the Antichrist or Satan. I know he is a Christian, so the irony just fills itself right in. And then Pat Robertson just looks like everyone's grandfather. Like, holy moly. But man, between them, yeah.
Like he's going to give you a word.
Exactly.
Pilot, and I was a fledgling pilot, and we went up in my little plane, and I was in the left seat, and you were on the right seat, and I remember we hit
up in his little plane. Now we don't fly little planes anymore.
Shake, and I was all scared. And you said, "You feel it shake?" I said, "Yes, Kenneth." And Kenneth said, "Well, let her shake." Said that plane.
You feel the shake, Amy?
You do.
Oh,
leave it alone.
I feel the shake.
Now I can just see a picture today. I mean, you had a death grip on it, and your knuckles were
death
white.
grip.
And I just did to you what my instructor had done to me years before.
Yeah.
I said, Pat,
Yes.
turn loose the yoke. I said, turn it loose. I've got it.
Yeah.
Turn it loose. Put your feet on the
Jesus,
floor.
take the wheel.
You didn't even want to do that.
Yeah.
I said, no, just if you have to, sit on your hands. And then when I took my
What if
hands
it falls
off
asleep?
You really didn't like
If
that.
I hand it friendly, cut it off.
Did this and wallowed around, and then it just settled down. It bounced around a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you don't change the power, it'll just fly.
Yeah. Well, he knew a whole lot more about flying than I did. And but that's life, and God knows a whole lot more about it than we do.
He's way ahead of us.
Yeah. Well, what's the Lord speaking to you?
That you remember now, back
I know, Amy. What's the Lord speaking to you?
gave me
Oh,
words about
I'm waiting for, like I
2020,
said,
and
the
it
third
was in
coming now.
October 29th.
Here,
In three
this is a
section.
Mm-hmm.
There was then a dream that I had. I went back and looked at that dream again.
Mm.
We're living it right now.
Really? What was it?
pause it for a second, Amy.
I was in
Let's see.
Yeah.
So what he's actually claiming here to be a prophet, because he is actually literally claiming that God is talking to him or sending him messages or visions or funky dreams that he can then interpret, and he's going to be able to tell you something about something unknowable or something that's going to happen based on special revelation from God. It's very, probably 95% of Christians wouldn't even go along with that, but
Yeah, well, they all have their own theology. And the prosperity theology, I don't think is looked well on, though whose schism, whose sect is looked well on outside of their own sect is always open for interpretation.
their YouTube
anyway,
channel
but-
has 500,000 subscribers. That's it's like 4 times Ken Hovind's subtotal. It's like many thousands of times ours. So
Yeah, well,
even though a lot of people don't like him, but they do reach a wide audience.
he has about 500,000. I think Kenneth does, or the actual 700 Club, I think, has
700
500,000.
Club account. Yeah, they're like 500 some thousand. So.
And so, woohoo, saying hello to everybody. And
Hey, Pat. Hey, guys.
within the community that they create, I'm sure that they are very well loved. I'm sure it's a tight knit. They are very well connected in the media center, as I'm sure you do when you have all this freaking cash that they get. But outside of their actual, their prosperity theology, it is not well looked upon by atheists or theists.
Yeah. I mean, it is so insidious that they make all this money, and they are literally doing absolutely nothing to help, on the spiritual side. I guess they could do nice things. They might be able to help people, but in the grand scheme of things, they're not being paid. That's not why people are giving them money. People are giving them money for the God part of it, which is a total fraud. It's a waste.
Well, yeah, it's almost like they're giving it to him to then give back to God.
So they'll take a portion of that money and use it to help people, but they are going to keep a healthy portion for themselves too.
Absolutely. Oh, how much of that goes back towards the needy and the defenseless?
Airport to go to Nashville, Tennessee, and I didn't need to go. When the airplane was close to boarding, I decided to go to the restroom, and I didn't need to go. I went into a restroom and asked if they had a restroom I could use. A young man said no. I said, "Oh, come on, man." And
This is a dream, by the way.
From a wad of money I had in my pocket.
A wad of money.
I was with him and went with him. They took me to the restroom. I decided to go
All
in.
three guys going to the restroom.
Oh my!
Young man a bill, and I noticed the bills had no numbers on them.
Wow!
Oh, like
Matt
checks.
Weber, who's in heaven, was somewhere in.
I'm gonna stop this because I can't help myself. I was reading the comments, and I feel like we should of this video, and I feel like we should almost read the comments, just because they are amazing. But everything in this video is about money. Now, there's nothing in the title that suggests money, but absolutely everything. Like, even his dream. Like,
Pulling
you
out
had
wads
a
of
dream
cash.
about money?
Giving cash to people.
Yeah.
Giving cash specifically to men to go to the bathroom with them. I don't know if that's legal in too many places. Unless you're a Republican senator.
Ooh, gotta just work those grinder accounts, baby.
The airport, I thought, Mac can hold that airplane for me.
Hold that
airplane.
Confusion is coming in our financial system.
Wow.
Wow. How prophetic was that, ladies and gentlemen?
Confusion?
Did you know there may be financial confusion? I mean, okay, sure.
Yeah. I don't know which stock to buy. I'm confused about it all.
Hey, James, can I make a prediction? Sometime in the future, there will be a war.
You sure about that? Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure.
I have another prediction to make, and since we're on the East Coast, so within about 3 to 4 hours, if you look in the sky, you will see a huge ball of plasma slowly come up above the horizon, and then it'll be light out. And that ball of plasma will slowly move across the sky, and then it'll disappear tomorrow night.
Ooh. That must mean that it's coming from God.
Just don't look right at it, because that would be bad. Yeah, you don't want to look straight at it for too long, anyway.
Not for too long, exactly.
Knows what money is worth. Now, this is the payoff right here. But those
payoff
gone before us.
Yeah.
This thing didn't catch God
Oh my!
off guard.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the money load.
Exactly.
This was back in October of last year.
Yeah.
Those who have gone before us, the great cloud of witnesses led by Jesus or by intercession, holding things together.
I always love when they put emphasis on this. By Jesus.
By Jesus' name.
That's how you know they're a true pastor. They're leading. It wouldn't be fun if he was just like, and by Jesus's name. No. You got to go, and by Jesus's name.
By the name of Jesus. There's power in the name of Jesus.
The great changes come.
Wow. But chaos in
Wow.
the markets with the bills didn't have any denomination.
The bills didn't have any denomination.
Well, that's what we just
No denomination. Go
unlimited money.
Go figure.
Unlimited.
But the thing that hit me in this,
Fountains of money.
God already had the whole heavenly team interceding for us before it ever happened.
Yeah.
Good. I just thought, oh, well,
God protected their money.
sit back and laugh at
Screw everybody up.
You're
But the millionaires,
home.
they're good.
I love this just everything.
And, you know, here's the thing. I would like for one time, just once, for someone like Kenneth Copeland to tell somebody, make a prediction before something happens, but make it specific enough that you can actually narrow it down or whatnot. He's telling us about this dream a year and a half later.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not impressive.
Yeah, not impressive. Not a good prophecy.
Just sit back and laugh at the devil and enjoy your stay at home.
Laugh at the devil like
Mariah.
like the girl who laughed at God.
He's got a ram on the other side, and he didn't know about it. But
That's right.
He's always prepared.
That's good.
Yeah, he's prepared. Yeah.
The other thing that we need to realize, fear is not okay.
Yeah.
What?
90.
Isn't that like half your
times.
thing? You're supposed to fear God, all this? No?
That's part of it, yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
In the Bible, that phrase, fear not, is used 72 times in the first covenant, the Old Testament, 23 times in the New Testament. Then there are
Fear,
And
just said,
fear
you know who
not.
he's telling this to? You know who he's telling this to? The worst off right now. People who are in the most desperate of times. This is like
Fear not.
a motivational Ponzi scheme. What a very weird combination.
Fear not. I'm going to drive home in my Rolls Royce.
Exactly.
You know, how you're going to pay the rent, I don't know. That's on God. But still, send me the money.
Well, I want to know like I said in the opening, I want to know the return policy. Like, if I don't get 10 times more richer or better, like, do I get my money back, or did I just make you 10 times richer?
No, remember, you get it back in heaven. Either way, if you don't get it back here, you'll get it back after you die.
After we die.
The last on earth is the first in heaven. Yeah, you'll get it back when you're dead.
let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. That's the same thing, but I'm talking about the very phrase.
Fear not.
Yeah, they're not afraid. They're not afraid of shit.
Bible people, I know that.
Did he just say being Bible
is
people?
Final authority in your life.
It just feels weird. Doesn't that feel weird?
Bible people?
You're Bible people. Yeah, that sentence. Just from a Christian, we're Bible people. I guess, I don't know. It just sounds like someone who is selling it but doesn't believe it. You know us. We're Bible people. We sell the Bible, don't we? That's what we do, right? We do. I haven't read it yet, but
I think he's trying to expand it from just two rich guys talking to each other, and he's trying to include the wider swath of Christianity in there, like all of us Bible people, rich and poor, like
everybody,
very rich, but even the poor Bible people who were still want to send money.
Exactly. Send it on, baby.
I mean, that's probably why they're poor. They haven't sent enough. If they would have only sent more, they wouldn't be poor. Yeah, that's their mistake. That's where they messed up.
Need a bigger seed.
When I see the word fear not, that's a command to me.
Yeah.
I have to start right then. No, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to do it. Jesus said, don't. He didn't tell me to do something I can't do.
Yeah.
So I don't care if my knees are shaking. I refuse to do it. In the name of Jesus. Now, this is what's so cool.
Okay.
Are your knees shaking, Amy?
What's so cool?
Oh, first,
Mm.
the 16th verse.
Okay.
We have known, now listen to this, and believed the love
Mhm.
that God has to us.
Yeah.
God is love, and he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him.
Jesus. Literally. Where have we heard that before? We get it.
Yeah.
The love. He loves us so much that he sent his son to be murdered on a torture device. It makes sense, really. We promise.
But if you don't believe in that,
Perfect. Or
Yeah.
if you don't believe in that, then you get baked love.
Burned. Yeah, exactly.
mature, that we may have boldness in the day of judgment, because
And actually, we just
Bonus?
passed
Did
minute.
someone say bonus?
We're going to get bonus love, ladies and gentlemen. We're actually
Yeah.
already 2/3 through the video. It's a short video.
It's a short
They're
video,
just celebrating happy birthday. And I thought it was just a great way to illustrate what these two really are.
I'm waiting for the cake to come out, shaped like a $100 bill.
Well, the funny thing with all these little stickers, it kind of looks like a rainbow cake.
Yeah. All his highlighted, his notes in there.
Yeah, these two are what a duo. Between them, they have probably millions and millions and millions, and all their followers are widespread. The exact opposite. It is not millionaires giving giant donations to these guys. It is your neighbor. It is your coworker.
Your grandma.
It is your grandma. It is your family members, and
Sending
that
her
is real.
entire Social Security check because she thinks God needs the money more than she does.
I would really like to know what is the pretense of good that these mother do here, because at least in, I don't know, I don't really want to say normal church, in a church that isn't the prosperity gospel, they will have a lesson that doesn't have to deal with money before they at least
Once in a
give
while.
out the frickin' plate. They will at least, but holy moly, everything is money themed in this entire video. I'm surprised he didn't say, "Hi, nice to meet you, buddy. It's nice to money you, money." Whew.
Nice to money you.
Surprised there is not an ATM in the background here.
You look like you're struggling with that. Here, let me lighten that wallet a little bit. It'll be easier for you to carry.
That's right. Just donate.
Helping out. I'm doing my part. We're doing my part.
From what I have seen, I think it was Kenneth who said that it doesn't matter if it's during a pandemic. It doesn't matter if you are about to lose a mortgage.
You still have to send the money. Yeah.
At a certain point, you got to be like, dude, I use this term. It's my favorite new term I've been using lately. The certain term, you are the supervillain. Just saying. Anyway, let's move on to Rainbow Cake.
Yeah, hey, I mean, if your family, you're about to get evicted from your house, that doesn't matter. Send the money.
Give that seed, James, and hopefully
send your kids to the homeless shelter.
He will take care of it somehow. It's in his plan. And if he doesn't, that was also his plan. You see how that works?
That eviction order will get lost. It won't get through. So.
Exactly. And all right, so we're going to go through the last third of this fun times, and then we're going to open up the open mic for another hour or so you can tell us about what you think about the wonderful 700 Club as we celebrate our 700 members, our community, and oh my goddess, all of the non-believers not having to deal with this. Oh, but like I said, like James said, unfortunately, like our grandmas, like our mom and dad have to deal with.
I mean, I don't envy them. I like our non-believer community much better.
Yeah, I feel welcome at home. I have never felt more in touch, more welcome. There's no
So are we in this world. There is no fear in love.
Yeah.
But
there is no fear in love, but
perfect or mature love
Cast out fear.
casts out fear.
Yeah.
That fear is not made perfect in. Because fear hath torment, he that fears is not mature in love.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? Well,
So have no fear. Give us your money. Don't worry about it. Don't be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doesn't that sound like gullibility? Have no fear. Come on, it'll work out.
God's not going to let anything bad happen. Don't worry about it. You're working for God. He'll
Would
make sure everything
God-
works out.
Exactly. Would God do you wrong?
faith was turned to fear the moment he sinned.
Yeah.
And the next thing he did was ran and hid.
That's right.
Now, fear is the other side of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith in this coronavirus and its ability to hurt you and kill you is to believe in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what
But-
do? We have to attack that.
It's going to kill you either whether you believe it or not.
You're walking around the room saying,
That's actually ridiculous.
I know I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah.
Fear, what did Job say? That thing that I so greatly feared has
Fear
come
came upon me. That's right.
Fear is a magnet,
Yeah.
like faith is a magnet.
What?
Satan will see to it. He will maneuver sick people in your presence. He'll see to it that it
Go
gets
back.
in-
Go back. What does he say? Did
I
he say
know.
Satan?
Always say it. I just wanted
That
to go
is-
back because look at that face. We're talking about Satan, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like
Yeah,
we'd
speak
like
of
to
the
get
devil,
a
right?
casting agent. Yeah.
Yeah. Speak
oh
of the devil.
my
Yeah.
goodness.
That's just
She-
yeah. Go ahead and read the comment.
Jesus, I love that name. Says, "What up, baby? Newman? Always good to see you all. 700 Club is the Fox News of Christian Prosperity News Networks. It's brutal to watch. Couldn't agree
It's
more."
a con. It's a con game. I mean, that's just so terrible. Telling people if you're worried at all about COVID that you're not having faith because faith is the opposite of fear. So if you're worried about it, if you want to take basic precautions, then you're wrong.
Well, also, one of the things when you're making a sale, when you are buying something, is you're full of fear. And this feels like you're sending, I mean, that is the shtick in this. You are sending your money, not because it's just out of the goodness of your heart, not even because you think, I mean, that it, I mean, does it help God? I don't really know. It feels like you're making a deal with God. Like these types of deals, they normally say end with Satan. They don't normally end with Yahweh. But somehow we're making a deal with Yahweh, and he's going to get us a better dice roll. Fantastic.
Hey,
maneuver sick people in your presence. He'll see to it that it gets in your house. He will see to it that you get that virus and that you get sick with it if you keep saying that.
Yeah.
so if you are afraid of it, then the devil is going to make sure you actually get it.
Did
That
he
is
just try and blame Satan for the virus?
He did, yeah. Go back like 10 or 15 seconds or so. I want to make sure I hear exactly what he said.
Satan will see to it. He will maneuver sick people in your presence. He'll see to it that it gets in your house. He will see to it that you get that virus and that you get sick with it if you keep saying that.
So the more you worry about it, the more precaution you take, then the devil will make sure you get it. That's just wow.
And that also makes people, can you imagine? So you watch this stuff and you're like watching just because it's on, and then you get the virus. What are you going to think when you watch this stuff? Well, I got it and I wasn't listening.
You did something wrong.
I wasn't listening to God. And so you're going to give this freaking snake oil salesman money, And then I also saw he said that he could cure it. He's selling the cure. He could tell you how to catch it, how to cure it. Amazing, ladies and gentlemen.
So
what do you do?
What do you do?
God loves Kenneth.
Oh, he does. God loves Kenneth. Oh,
I'm
baby.
sorry. Let me not interrupt.
Baby.
Let me not interrupt this beautifululness.
Do. Thank God. God loves Kenneth.
He sure does.
God loves Kenneth. God loves me.
Yo, he couldn't even he couldn't keep it. He broke right there. He's like, oh man, I'm doing this shit. Oh.
Yeah.
I love God.
This is precious.
I bet you do. I bet you love whoever you think is giving you all that money. But you know who you don't give thanks to? All the people giving you money.
I refuse
mountains
to.
be removed and
Yes.
cast into the sea. I will not fear. Man, you're an inspiration. I
Sup?
thank you for being here, Kenneth.
Oh, he's an inspiration, all right.
Bless you, and thank you for this gracious gift toward Operation Blessing, folks.
Oh,
You know,
Operation Blessing for me.
there's just
Bless me.
more coming. I mean, it
More
That's
coming.
what she said. See, now I'm waiting for the fourth coming of Jesus.
doesn't seem to want to stop.
You're great. They sent me a manuscript because I wrote an endorsement.
Oh yeah, did you see it?
Yo, caption.
How do they not realize how
Whoa.
cringy this is?
Kenneth, can I ask you, was it better than sex?
Yeah, did you see it?
Feels good, folks. It feels good. Look at that face
Hey,
right there.
He is spent, Amy. You milked him dry.
Yo, I do what I can. I aim to please. And okay, we only have a minute left, so I guess they're about to kiss. I hope this is the part.
Hopefully the camera will pan out.
Well, I guess actually, if you make a face like that, hopefully you're way past kissing at that point.
I can't tell you that, but you guys.
Maybe they both can go to a public restroom and offer
I
guys
know.
money to go in there with them.
There's love in their eyes. I can see it now.
Absolutely marvelous. It's one of those books where you laugh and you cry.
You cry. Have a
But
good
the
time.
thing that I have that you've inspired me so over all of these years, sir,
Yeah,
is your love for people.
that's right.
Your love.
That's right.
Oh, he's so loving. So loving.
Yeah.
You talk about an honest.
Also, the book, of course, he was talking about was the Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament,
Of course.
Volume 1, baby, which goes great with our Skeptic Bible study. Check it out on Amazon now. Amazon bestseller. That's right, baby. Anyway,
Ooh,
that was the
Dr.
book
Josh.
they were actually talking about. Yes.
Writing of a book.
Oh yeah, I laid it bare. I mean, it was my soul is open.
I'm not going to give it away, but oh man, I was like, what? He did that?
Say what?
Yeah, it's
I
brutally
love
You're so
honest.
silly.
I walk with the living God. It's coming out the first week of May.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's the name of
Buy
his
the
bank
book.
account.
Thank
Buy the book.
you. You're a blessing to be here. Love you.
We're going to preach this gospel until
he
we
comes.
get so old people.
Oh, I
call
bet
us
you
old.
will. Why would you stop?
Right now, I'm
Yeah. Why? It's worked out well for him so far.
I'm only
Yeah.
7 years behind.
Thanks, brother. You're a blessing.
Oh, such a
Oh.
blessing. Amy.
Such a blessing. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You can find them out. If you liked what you just heard from the opposition viewpoint.
Give them all your money. They will gleefully take it from you. They will be more than willing to take all your money.
So what do you think, James? We just saw Kenneth Copeland, Pat Robertson reflecting on their friendship, love, and, as I said, their bank accounts. It's exciting.
It's wonderful. They're such amazing people, such wonderful people, salt of the earth people, loving people. They're like you kind of said at the end, Pat Roberts, he's so loving. He just loves everybody. He's just overflowing. It's like a fire hose spewing love out every direction he can find.
It reminds me of the atypical political question. It's like, do you know what the price of milk is? Or does he even know what the price of milk is? He's so out of touch. Probably not.
Yeah.
His maid probably does.
Like when
the person on his jet.
Like when the first President Bush back in like 92, like when he went to the grocery store and he had never seen a barcode before. He thought they still had to hand key all the prices in. He was so enamored with the barcode thing because he had never himself been shopping for so long.
And all right. I think in a second we are going to move into the open mic so you can tell us about all the wisdom that you experienced from these two
all the seeds.
honest gentlemen. But my lordy, what a way to bring the atheists and theists together, because these guys are not liked, except for their fans, except for within the schism, within the sect.
Yeah, I think 90% of Christians even think they're, con men, charlatans. I mean, he claimed to be basically a prophet. He claimed to be a prophet in there, so, he's claiming direct revelation from God. Which actually is that's like one of the steps when you're looking at like a religious denomination where when they start making claims of being prophets and whatnot, that at that point they've gone off the deep end. I mean, the people, the guys at Westboro Baptist Church, they've also been crazy for a long time. But what was it, like 2010, right? That's when they started calling each other prophets on the show, like prophets of God. That's when they really went like completely batshit crazy. They're prophet of God.
And thank you, James, for bringing up my pet peeve. Oz has
prophets.
Just a myth. Jesus is just a myth. I have what the prophets, because I do not get the point of prophets at all. Like, I do not understand the middleman. I do not. And if you're going to claim that it is a teacher, that this is someone worthy of, I don't know, actually being, you need to have them something better than I normally have my little holy text. It says so in the book like 2,000 years ago, and a guy did a thing. He came back to life. That totally proves. Oh, a guy split the moon.
It says in the book.
A guy went through water. Says it in the book.
It says in the book how many. It said like hundreds of people, right? I mean, that's good.
And all right.
How many people?
Say that again.
Have seen Elvis alive in America?
Oh, had a little bit of static.
Oh, I said in 50 years, how many people in the United States have seen Elvis still alive?
Yeah, well, I still get Elvis sightings.
Or Tupac.
Exactly. People still telling us Tupac's alive. I mean, conspiracies are always going to happen.
Faked his death. Yeah, obviously he faked his death, and he's been hiding out in a bunker somewhere, sending songs for other people to sing just because. Just
because. And we're about to switch over to the open mic. Mm-hmm. And I will say, it is I don't want to say a theme, but James and we are both supporters of a market economy. So we like people selling things. We like people selling their goods and services. We like it when people make honest transaction. In my opinion, beneficial. And I believe James shares the same, people are selling, well, not only is religion selling the invisible product, but when it comes to these prosperity preachers, this is a Ponzi scheme. I mean, this is, you will get more money when you give us more money.
And
Not
they're
even
preying on
other
the
chutzpah to
worst
say
off.
that. Yeah.
And they're preying on the worst of the worst, the people who are the worst off, the people who need that miracle. And yeah, this is not
Exactly.
middle and upper income people sending money to the 700 Club. This is mostly on your lower end of the spectrum.
I also don't know marathon, like, donate, what would the word be? Like food drives or things that they're not known for that. It's not like they bring in all this money and they're known for giving it out. They're known for having jets. They're known for getting self-defensive when people ask them questions about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
I'm sure they do some good, but it seems to be a small fraction of what they take in. It's like one of those fake fundraiser drives where when you ask them, how much money does the company actually, or the charity actually get? And it's like about 9%. Oh, so you guys pocket most of it. Yeah, go figure, right?
Well, at least there is the pretense in most churches, in most synagogues, in most mosques. They're trying to tell us, well, because it's a common apologetic. Well, who gives more than the religious organizations and blah, 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 blah. That's mostly because there was no other organizations for the longest of times. But once again, they are attaching something to it. They're attaching God to the sandwich. It's not like it's just, here's the sandwich. It's, here's the sandwich, and have you heard about Jesus? And then these mother mofos are saying, no, 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 no. It doesn't matter that you're in the hardest times, the worst times of your life. It doesn't matter. Don't be fearful. Don't be scared.
That's who religion preys on.
Exactly.
And it's like if you look back maybe 60 years ago, 50 years ago, it wasn't perfect, but in the prison system, we had some elements of rehabilitation and whatnot, where you would try to give people skills that are going to be useful so they won't go back to prison. Then we figured out, hey, that costs a lot of money. Jesus is free. So instead of giving people tools that they can use to actually earn a living, they'll bring pastors in to tell them how sad it makes Jesus when they steal.
The guilt trip.
Stealing makes Jesus very sad. You don't want to make Jesus sad, do you? And then lo and behold,
Jesus angry.
Yeah, you don't want to make Jesus sad. And the prison population swelled and doubled and quadrupled because that shit doesn't work.
There's also no better looking thing to put on your record before a parole hearing than, oh, I came to Jesus. Once again, that's the fifth coming of Jesus. We're trying to count as many as we can tonight. But yeah, it totally messed up system, totally messed up pastors. But we're going to bring in someone who's totally awesome as we move into our open mic. I have the link pinned, whether you are in YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. In fact, let me get this link.
And then we'll bring Pat on. Yeah, Doberman, he is a prophet, all right. He makes a lot of profit. I guess they're planning on taking it with them when they die.
In fact, gonna send into YouTube chat.
You're on mute, Amy?
Oh, can you hear me now? Do. Still on mute? I think I'm off mute.
Hello? You were on. Now I hear you now.
Woohoo. Sent also the Twitch stream if you would like to join, because we are streaming on Facebook. Should send the Facebook link too. So doesn't matter what platform you would like, you can join us there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen,
Not on CPN or TBN. You're not on that platform.
We're moving into our open mic. What is up, Pat, I hope you're doing well. We're talking the 700 Club today. We're celebrating, and we're also looking at, let's just say, two people who took a very different approach than James and I to the subject. How are you, and what are your thoughts?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I pretty much hate anything to do with prosperity gospel preaching, so I feel it's my duty to come on and slam them as hard as I possibly can tonight. And
They deserve it.
I'm coming to you from my new setup in my office with a mic that's actually a decent mic and multiple computers, and I'll figure out which cameras are actually on as I try to work through this. So, whole new thing. So this will be
And a pop screen.
Yep, this will be my new abode. So I'm pretty happy about it. So I'll just let someone else come on and we'll get started.
Well, there's nobody in the studio other than
Well, no. Well,
It's
what
just you
we'll
back
do
Just
is
me?
we will move into open conversation, and then we will have some fun for a little while. And
if anyone
gonna
else wants to come on.
if anyone wants to come on, we will have some back and forth, or we'll talk about, hey, if you support these two guys, or if you have some theological views yourself, we got three non-believers on right here. So come
you
in
think the
to
only
the sheep's
non-believer.
den.
If you think the only problem with their bank accounts is there's not enough money in them, they need more, then come on and let us know.
Absolutely. I did see someone
Exactly.
put up there. By full disclosure, the Welsh flag is my wife's. My Greek flag is up there. So, then,
Ooh.
Oh, is your wife Welsh?
yeah. Scotch, Irish, and Welsh. It's about as Celtic as you can get. I think there's a little German. So, it'll be a good time.
It's a fun mix, though.
Depends on what side of the argument you're on. I'm usually on this side of the argument, and so no.
Yeah, that sometimes happens. And hello, DeFreak. See, come on and join us. I see DeFreak. I think Eva. I think you're a theist. If you'd like to join us, you're always to just. I hate always putting pressure on people. Just keep on enjoying watching. We love viewers like you. If you just want to keep on enjoying, but if you want to join on, the option's always available. Linked in all three chats. But we are Midnight Ranting on the 700 Club. Oh, James got stolen by Satan. Sometimes happens. But we are talking basically prosperity gospel, because it is a subject that is becoming, it's the sixth, ladies and gentlemen, of the Christ, near and dear to my heart because of how disgusting it is, and really pushes me further in my anti-theist direction. I have to finish that. Contractually obligated. He's on his phone, DeFreak says. That's okay. And this is actually really our introduction on this channel to Kenneth Copeland and Pat Robertson. We're probably going to be doing them hot individually. I'd like to devote entire episodes to their shenanigans. What about you, Pat? I have a question for you.
Sure.
What did you think about these guys when you were a theist?
Well, I still thought they were scumbags. I don't come from that kind of tradition, so when I was a kid, my parents would be flipping through the channel. My parents were pretty conservative. My mom was Lutheran. My dad was Greek Orthodox. So we pretty much laughed whenever we saw these people on TV, and it was just,
I can understand.
click over them. And my parents would complain, and I just kind of emulated that. But then again, passing around that big silver offering plate every Sunday was something I still, and everybody would secretly put their envelope in it, but they'd want their envelope to look like it was fatter than everybody else's. So it's the same thing.
It's almost like a next door neighbor kind of thing. You want to be bigger than the guy down the pew next to you.
Exactly.
Who can impress God more? It's almost. I want to say it's almost idolatry. I'm sure there's a lot of people who say it is idolatry, and yet, that's how they stay in business. That's why these people, no matter what pastor or preacher, you gotta maintain the roof over your head.
Well, I don't care what church it is. They want your money. And
Absolutely.
In a perfect world, they'd get their 10% plus. I mean, at least some churches, like the Mormons, are honest. Give us 10% from the beginning, like right up front. But they'll take every dime they can out of you, and they won't think twice about it.
There's like I said, no money back guarantee. Anything, if it goes towards good things, if it goes towards a Porsche, that wasn't God's plan. I use the Porsche, if you need to understand, to get faster to more people to spread the gospel. You gotta understand.
All right. Sweet.
I
don't know.
And Eva, if you mind asking, what country are you from? Are you saying if you say something there, they'll get you pulled? I'm afraid because there are 16 countries, not me personally. I'm afraid for the 16 countries from which atheists can get sentenced to death for just by the state for who they are. And so I see all the time on ex-Muslim channels, and I'm sure it's probably on ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and all the others that really, let's just say, tighten it on the apostateism, that they have to use voice modulators, just stuff that you would be like, oh my goddess, what kind of group is this? And so it's hard because when you look at someone just in your day-to-day life and they're a religious person, they're just Joe or Bob or whatever, and they're fantastic. You don't even know about anything unless it's a holiday party or it's an event or something. And then I'm sorry. I saw Scotland. Scotland, really? Scotland is they have tight knit on.
No, they don't. I just got back from Scotland.
Not accepting a woman. I don't know. I will say we do like the spiciness on this channel. So we will. The only time we ever try to mute people moving into the future is to get clean sound bites. That is all I want in life and from interlocutors. But I want people to say things that we disagree with. That is the charm. I think the atheists and the non-believers, I say dirty little secret, but the fun is having the people who disagree with us, because without that, it would just be a shake weight competition. And I see that James is back. He was selling timeshares in hell. Welcome, James.
Hey, guys.
Woo-hoo.
So I'm reading a comment that it says, finding Jesus costs $0. I would refer them to the gospel accounts where Jesus says, give away everything and all your possessions and follow him. That sounds like the maximal commitment to me. So maybe finding Jesus costs $0, but following Jesus costs quite a bit.
Lot. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's so funny. I'm trying to remember. Is it Mel Brooks? God always, Carlin. The funny thing about God, all powerful, all knowing, just can't handle money. That one funny thing, just can't seem to get enough of it. If he could just get a little bit more, then the 6 coming of Jesus. I'm up there, baby. We're going down the list. Then I was a rich man. No.
Well, I mean,
reading comments.
God, if you get sick, God is cheaper than the doctor, but between prayer and actual medical care, your success rate is not going to be very high at all.
Yeah, prayer doesn't have a good success rate. In fact, if people know they are being prayed for, they have a lower rate of success for healing. in hospitals. So, and the hypothesis is that it is because of performance anxiety. All of a sudden, you're like, oh
stress,
shit.
extra stress.
Now I got to be on Team God. You're drafted me, and I got to heal so that they can prove that you're real. Fantastic. When is Jesus?
Well, as
Tuesday?
I was looking
Tuesday.
As I was looking for videos to do for the 700 Club, I ran across several videos on there. They put these out all the time. They're like basically medical healing stories that they're touting as evidence of God. So, hey, you'll probably want to give us all your money because, look, we're working with God. People are getting healed here. You know.
Well, and all you need is just...
It's a miracle.
You have 10 people praying for cancer to heal them. We'll be 6 go into remission. We'll be generous. 4 don't. 4 just die.
Yeah.
Did those 4 people were they not doing it right? Was that? And that's I would like to even get those numbers. And then, even then, was it the chemo that got those 6 people that went into remission, or was it God?
Well, yeah.
Who was doing the heavy
One of the
lifting
guys.
there?
It was one of the videos. It was a COVID case, and they're talking about a guy got COVID, and he went to the hospital, and he started getting worse, and they took him. He actually got bad to the point where he had to be on a ventilator. So his wife, it's late at night. She's ringing all her church friends at church to start praying at like 2 or 3 in the morning because he's getting put on a ventilator because his lungs aren't able to get enough oxygen in his blood. And 3 or 4 days later, he started to get a little bit better. And of course, they're giving credit to God. I think if they just prayed and didn't use the ventilator, I don't think it would have worked out as well.
Well, of course, it's the
Right.
combination, and I'm doing it at the same time. It's like taking the aspirin and praying for God to take your headache away. Which one worked? Chances are the aspirin, but I guess who knows, right?
Glory to God. Glory to God.
Glory to Jeebus.
The doctors were only able to heal me because God allowed it.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
And tax-free.
Yeah.
So
Can't
not
tax
only
God.
can't tax God, yeah. Not only are they taking
IRS
all
gonna
this
audit
money.
him?
Yeah, would you audit God? Taking all this money from poor people, but then they're also not actually giving any money back, which would probably be used towards politics aside, that would actually be used towards doing something.
Yeah.
It was a church that it's not where I live, but it was in Central Florida, and we would go there sometimes in the summer because we had family up there. And it was Calvary Baptist Church. I just saw maybe a month ago or so that they had a longtime secretary there who had been there for like 15 years, I think. No, actually about 10 years. And in that span of time, she had looted about $700,000 from the church, and nobody noticed it.
Oh,
the one pastor retired, or he left the church, and they brought a new pastor in who started looking at the books, and he started seeing some anomalies there. Then they looked into her and found that she'd been looting the place for quite a while. And even though they hired her, she had check fraud charges going back 20 years before that. But they decided, hey, give her another chance. It's for God. Yeah,
God.
She's not going to steal from God. Well, yeah, she did.
And woohoo! What is up, Eddie?
Eddie, brute facts.
Woohoo! And hey, this is I can't imagine someone who probably is more against this type of theology. I can't imagine Eddie. I can't imagine Will, Jim. I can't imagine a giant majority of theists. It's why they are the pariahs of Christianity. Is there something like this in Islam? Prosperity Islam? That'd be funny.
And-
It's horrible, but
Now, as bad as they are, in a lot of ways, they're not too dissimilar from mainline Christians. It's just where they go with it. But I mean, their theology is pretty much very similar with mainline Christians. It's just they use it in a predatory way.
I agree. I agree that the theology is the same. It's just how they're using it. It's like, man, they are really putting, like, if the plate is always in the back of their mind as the priest and pastor is trying to do whatever they do, feels like this is in the front of their mind. This is they're already just putting it out there. Like, there was nothing in that video. If you just joined us, we watched about a 10-minute video from Kenneth Copeland and Pat Robertson. I'm surprised the world didn't crack in half. But it was basically them patting themselves onto the back and giving each other money, apparently. And it was just like, it was I forget what movie where he opens the suitcase, he's smoking, he's like, it was like in that moment. We won't ever know how much money. It doesn't matter because he went like, that's a lot of money. Thank you, MacGuffin. It could have glowed. It should have had a special effect.
You can almost see the dollar signs in their eyes. Like, that's a lot of money. It's like, I wish it were 100 times that. Well, you could probably afford 100 times that.
And I believe that, Will. I mean, I view these guys as the exact opposite, or at least I view you guys. It's hard to explain. It's just intent and interpretation. Like, these guys, like I said, they are.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, they're all pushing the invisible product in a way.
They're the pariahs of the community.
Well,
they're used.
Yeah, a few minutes ago, there were a couple comments. I think it was DeFreak who said a couple things, like, one, that only applied as far as the casting off of your wealth in order to follow, that only applied to the rich man. That's actually not what it says. I think it's funny when Christians go, well, that was only to that guy. Jesus only told that guy. No, the question was, I've done this. I've followed the law. I've been righteous. What do I have to do? And he says, give all your stuff away and follow me. But the guy was sad and unwilling to do it because he had many possessions. Like, yes, it's about a rich man. But the answer Jesus gives is not only to that guy. It's to everybody. Because that was the practice in the early Christian church. Paul says the same thing. Numerous texts say the same thing. Devotion in the second century AD, that's how Christians practiced the religion, was by selling everything and giving it to church. One of the reasons the Romans were mad at what Christians were doing is because your son would join the church, and that would be the person that was your inheritor. And then when they inherited all your stuff, instead of keeping it in the family, which was the Roman method of controlling wealth, it would go to the church. They would sell it off. The second thing is I saw a comment, I think it was DeFreak again, talking about medicine and ointments come from Jesus. Well, Jesus is the same guy in Mark that heals with spittle and mud. So I don't know if I want to be, talking about Dr. Jesus as far as miracle worker using quote unquote science, right? It's
going to be the next episode of House.
Yeah, exactly.
Treating snake bites by looking at a bronze snake on a pole, that'll make the venom go away.
Right. I mean, it was a very common method, by the way. Spittle and mud was a very common way of, in not just, Jewish society, but many societies throughout the Mediterranean, it was believed to have curative powers, but it was magical curative powers. It was very common. Earth has this association with healing, and spittle was seen as a cleaning agent, particularly when you're spitting and uttering an incantation. It was seen to be very powerful. So,
you'll run into that apologetic too sometimes when you're reading one of Paul's writings, and they'll say, "Oh, you're reading somebody else's mail that was addressed just to that church. You can't extrapolate that to everybody. He was just talking to them."
Well, if that's the case, then no one has to follow it today. So either it was to the churches in broad, or we should just tear it out of the New Testament and throw it away. Because if it was only for the Corinthians, well, they're all dead. So
It's useless for us then.
Useless for us. Obviously, it was a one and done, and no one has to worry about it. See, those type of apologetics really fall apart when you analyze the logic behind it. I mean, it is kind of funny. So, again,
yeah, no, it's not a very good apologetic, but it's all they have at that point.
I find that funny, as if Jesus was giving personal advice to just like personal life advice. He's like Bill Burr. He was just sitting back there, just trying to. It's like, no, the guy asked him what you could do to follow him. Why would that just apply to like Frank? I don't get like that is a.
Well, the reason it's in several of the Gospels is to reiterate the point that this guy comes to Jesus saying, I am blameless before the law, which in a Jewish context means I keep the law. As far as God's concerned, I'm a righteous person. But in order to secure the kingdom with you, presumably, what do I need to do what do I need to do? And if you've kept the law perfectly, in order to show that, give all your possessions, follow me, become my disciple. This isn't a hard thing. I mean, again, if you're driving around a Beamer with, with a 7-figure house, this might be kind of hard to hear, but early Christians practiced it in large part without exception. The retaining of wealth was seen as a vanity, not until really we get into the late 3rd and then the 4th century with the establishment of, the Roman state's apparatus to support the church, that retaining wealth became something that wasn't considered anti-Christian or antithetical to expression of the faith. But in the 2nd and early 3rd century, giving all your stuff to the church was kind of the de facto state. Even those more wealthy people that were supporting the church typically did so by turning their home, or at least a portion of their home, into a church or a meeting center. It really wasn't a church yet, but that's what they called it. There were no formal buildings within the Roman Empire. But in addition, they were supporting all the members of their Christian community, because typically, the different strata in Roman society were very separated by wealth. So if you were a wealthy Christian, your money went to supporting the Christians around you, particularly providing a place for worship and all these things. It was very common. So again, St. Nicholas supposedly, when he became Bishop of Myra, he actually sells everything, gives everything away to the church in order to feed the homeless and, buy shoes for children and all these various aspects of his life. Some of it's, it's largely apocryphal, but some of the historical stuff, may be founded in some tenets of early Christianity.
So I think Eddie's got a response for Pat on
there. So we'll read that, and then we're going to bring in Mark.
And Eddie is completely wrong.
So let's
did you read it?
I'll read it. I would disagree, Pat. The only people rich at that time were non-Jews. To be Jewish and rich means he got rich off the backs of his own people. Jesus knew this and was speaking to us.
Well, some of the richest people in the Roman Empire were people that were living outside the Roman Empire, and many of them were Jews. One thing Jews did quite well was acting as traders. The Jews of the diaspora did very well, and in Palestine, they did fairly well just acting as intermediaries. I mean, you could get rich and not necessarily have to be a Roman citizen, but Jewish Roman citizens typically did better. There were certain advantages both under the legal system and under, ownership of property and things when you were a Roman citizen. But that's, there's absolutely no historical evidence to show that Jews were exploiting their own people at any higher rate than anybody else in the Roman Empire. Culturally, rich people were rich and poor people were poor. That seemed to be a de facto state. I mean, ancient Israel during the time of the Roman occupation was as stratified as anywhere else in the Mediterranean and within the Roman context. So.
And got one more comment, and then we're going to bring Mark in. From Will says, was he telling to sell all his stuff or asking him to demonstrate by the law the first commandment?
Well, I think you could actually say that those two commandments were in parallel as Jesus was expressing it. But that is not the only place where Jesus and other people in the New Testament, either Paul or others, talk about the retention of personal wealth being not only a stumbling block, but actually in some cases a necessity to eject wealth, to refuse wealth. I mean, it's just like the Beatitudes, right? I mean, these are monetary wealth was seen as a burden and a roadblock to spiritual progression, in particularly early Christianity. That they retained.
When did the church begin? Just gonna say, when did the church begin to impose the poverty requirement for the priesthood?
Well, that's going to kind of develop early on, because there's going to be we'll talk about the church in the 4th century, right, with Constantine and forward. They were already talking about non-marriage. You had wealthy patricians becoming members of the church, and typically the rank of bishop was pretty prominent. Bishops being kind of that linchpin rankle structure that had a lot of power and authority within the growing church in the 4th century, particularly up through the reign of Theodosius, when Theodosius formally makes Christianity the religion around 380. And there's a couple different acts that he does during that time period that cements it as the only religion. He actually outlaws other sects like Arianism, semi-Arianism, and a few other Christian sects. But to answer your question very shortly, by the end of the 4th century, the act of that some people were going to be poor in the church and some people were going to be retaining their wealth was largely due to social class of when you came in. But many bishops who came from wealthy families would not be allowed to retain wealth. It would be passed on to a secular member, so that when they died, it didn't become church property. Because there was an issue on, like, if I never got married and I died, but I had a lot of property, did it go to my family or did it go to the church? And there seemed to be some contention depending on who the emperor was at the time on how that was handled.
And all right, we're gonna move into Mark. That sounded kinky. Feel free to keep on tagging our questions at Amy Newman so James and I can see it. But here for his opening statement and to have some fun, Mark, hope you're doing good.
Hey, Mark.
And what are your thoughts? 700
Hey,
Club.
yeah, I'm so sorry I missed the first part of this, so I do apologize. Yeah, but this is again the prosperity gospel, right? And you got to wonder how they managed to get from. So this is Matthew 19, I think. Matthew 19.
Mark 10, Matthew 19. Yeah, it's in a couple.
Right. Well, I was like, I mean, it's odd the way that people say, oh, but he was only talking to one person, but he actually explicitly said it's harder for a rich man to enter heaven. And it's harder than a camel or a thick rope to pass through the eye of a needle. So with that context around it, I don't know how you could possibly argue it was for specifically this one person, because he goes on to say it is hard for a rich man to enter heaven. He specifically says who he's talking about, and that's rich men in general, not one specific one. So I don't know how they managed to tussle that phrase into, but give away all your possessions. I mean, yeah, but it's odd to have this idea of like sort of richness. If you're wealthy, it's not holy, and turn into like, you know, the Catholic Church, the Vatican City having undreamed of wealth, you know, and these guys like Pat Robertson and stuff being incredibly wealthy at the expense of people that are struggling within their churches, you know. So it's it's just disgusting stuff. And again, I really want to point you to John Oliver's Lady of Perpetual Exemption thing. It's about 3 episodes, very funny, and outlines the problem with these churches perfectly, absolutely perfectly. They don't pay tax. They don't contribute to society, not like the way that real charities do. And I'm going to say that, you know, realizing I'm going to anger some people, that, you know, real charities do. We have over in Australia a church called Hillsong, which essentially does nothing for the community. They just basically, they're a money-making machine, evangelical, prosperity gospel, and all. They do not contribute to charity. They don't do any of that stuff. They just make themselves money for the glory of God, apparently. And and it's really disgusting. It's really, really unsettling. So yeah, that's all my thoughts I had on it. But yeah, it's great to be here at this Socratic gangbang. Thanks to all my fellow gangbangers. I so wanted to say that. I hope Jen watches or something.
You worked that in, Mark. I'm sure she was in before.
Oh, really? I hope she comes back.
She was in before. I don't know if she's still back there.
Yeah, it's great to see all of you. It's great to see Will and Eddie and even Bubbles, who I saw the other day.
Bubbles,
yeah. Amy and James, love you both. Pat, always a pleasure, man. Yeah, I learned so much from you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
And I agree. That's what I love about having Pat on. That's a great thing about academics.
You always learn.
Okay, we're about to learn because Bubble, we are Midnight Ranting. We were watching a video of Kenneth Copeland and Pat Robertson, but really we're just talking the 700 Club and prosperity theology in general. How are you and what are your thoughts?
Hey, yo. Yeah, I came here. I was going to go to 9-11, but not 9-11, 7-Eleven. My bad. I just went for 7-Eleven to open up.
Did you know 7-Eleven is a part-time job?
Those are two very different things.
Well, 9/11 is just around the corner. It's on my mind, and I was about to go to 7-Eleven right now, but it's closed.
Aww.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Kenneth Copeland.
7-Eleven's closed there. They're 24 hours here.
Yeah, I thought it was weird because it usually was 24 hours, but it's closed right now for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, I think Kenneth Copeland is a demon. I think if you see this guy in a dark alleyway, he will turn into a hoof-goated beast thing.
I never know when you're joking or not, but
Bubbles does look like the Antichrist.
I mean, you look at his face. It's like this guy's trying to hold. Yeah, if he sheds his skin like some sort of reptilian lizard man, I'm pretty sure there's some sort of hoof demon beast under that thing.
So those are my parents. They operate the lizards or the lasers.
Yeah, I was with Mark yesterday, and I think this kind of relates. We were on Neff's show, and
I was absolutely tricked into going on to Neff's show because he uses the mute like a bludgeon. He just mutes and then Gish gallops away, and then as soon as you talk, he talks over you. He's just a horrible, horrible person to talk to. Yeah,
well, as soon as you try to almost get him cornered, he'll do that because he doesn't have a reply. And
you were in the debate, Bubble, right? You were in that debate with Neff and Jim Majors because he sent a question in and James said, don't worry about him, he's a troll.
Yeah, because after Mark left, we got into the thing about materialism and spiritualism. And this is something most people don't know. God cannot create a soul. Only you have the capability of making a soul. And the thing with this relates to money. The way this relates to money is because you see this in a lot of in the Bible talk. For example, there's this verse that says you can only serve one Lord. That'll be in Mammon.
Star-Lord?
Huh?
Nothing. You can continue.
Yeah, they say this phrase you can only serve one Lord, which they're referring to Mammon, the god of greed, or Jesus. But I'm not sure if you remember the debate Matt Millahunty had with this other guy that was on Modern Day Debate.
Matt's been on with a lot of people on Modern Day Debate. You're going to have to be a little more specific there, Bubbles.
The last one. The guy with the ponytail. You know how he was talking about
Kenny Rhodes?
That's my dad.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, Kenny Rhodes. Right. You know how he was talking about essence? When he talks about it,
the penness of the pen. Yeah.
Penness, I forgot about that.
When he said
he's actually had fun with that one.
Oh, yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah, when he's talking about essence, he's actually talking about animism. And animism is the belief that things have their own deity. And so money isn't just actually has its own demon-like entity, that being Mammon. And for example, you all know Noam Chomsky, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the lizards, right?
And linguist, I believe. Linguistics is his thing, yeah.
Yeah, when Noam Chomsky is appealing to morality, innate morality, he's appealing to angels, and people don't. He doesn't come out right and say he's like believes in angels.
I think you might be misrepresenting Noam Chomsky there, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever heard him mention angels.
No,
I don't think I've ever heard him mention
No, he
angels.
avoids the question. He purposely avoids the question because he can't outright say he believes in angels. But when he appeals to
I think you're extrapolating a bit into the
That's a
man's
stretch.
beliefs there, Bubbles. Yeah,
well,
I'd
okay,
agree with James.
okay. If you were an atheist and somebody asked, "Do you believe in God?" you would just say no, right?
Depends what kind of atheist.
But
that is one definition. That is
Okay.
one definition.
Any normal atheist isn't gonna like shy away from that question. But Noam Chomsky shies away because he knows he can't say he believes in angels and these things. But when he appeals to objective morality, he knows he's appealing to angels.
Well, I think he shies away from it because it's not his field. He's more into linguistic sociology and political philosophy. I don't think that's his field at all. So
Well, not even. It's just a personal question.
Well, a lot of intellectuals will shy away from these questions that, isn't pertaining to their area of expertise. And so they'll just say, no, I'm not going to answer that because I don't have an expertise in that area.
Well, it's not a question of expertise. It's a question of your personal beliefs.
Well, maybe he doesn't want to give his personal beliefs.
Well, if he was an atheist, he would have no problem. He could say that, but
he could believe in fairies, but it has nothing to do with his work.
So let me get this straight, Bubbles. Because he won't tell people his personal beliefs, you've then just assumed his personal beliefs and stated what they are.
No, I'm saying because he believes in this thing called objective morality, he knows he has to appeal to angels because he's using them as an authority.
Well, I don't think you have to.
T-Jump believes in that.
So can I ask a few questions? Yeah. So why angels, first of all?
Well, I don't know. This is you're gonna have to. He's not gonna answer. Well, definitely not gnomes because he's appealing to an authority. Look, when you appeal to like an objective law. Like, what is the objective law of this state? You go to the state, you appeal to the state law, right? And so when you're appealing to this universal law of morality, you have to go to the highest being that has control over that area.
No.
That would be God.
Can I? Oh, wait. So hold on. So is it God or is it angels?
Well, angels, gods, whatever hierarchy he's appealing to that hierarchy, that government or whatever angelic.
Couldn't you appeal to the law of nature or a law of evolution or something along those lines?
Well, you have to say nature is conscience and it has some sort of morality system. But not even nature has morality.
Well, I mean, you can base a moral system upon it, though. You're talking about what the laws that you're appealing to.
Yeah, but it still has to be based on, like, the ruling class, the ruling authority.
T-Jump believes in objective morality. And
right.
Yeah. I know, he's weird.
He is weird.
I got kicked off T-Jump's server, by the way. Did I tell you that? I was mad, but yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I get used to it with Neff. He kicks me out every time. Every time I go in there, he kicks me. Yeah.
Why did they kick you off, Mark? What happened?
I argued with T-Jump. I found out it's a bad idea if you want to stay on his server.
And okay.
But I'm such an agreeable person. I've never argued before in my life. Please believe me.
But just to clarify something that was said earlier, because I'm not going to let it go. Mammon is not some spirit. Mammon is an actual Syro-Phoenician deity that from the original Canaanite language, Mammon transferred into the Greek is the god of wealth. It was actually a tangible deity that was worshipped. It was like the god of fortune, like Tyche in the Greek. So it was a god that was prayed to in the region, Syria, not being really adjacent to Galilee. It was a well-known deity. So you can't worship God and Mammon. It's literally referring you can't worship the God of Israel and worship Mammon, this goddess of again, that's the point. It's an actual deity that was commonly worshipped in the region.
So a lot of times what Christians do, or like in the metaphorical ones, they'll take like a god or a demon and they'll apply it. Like you'll hear Bob Larson talk about, like, he'll talk to a demon like lust. He'll refer to that as a demon, even though that's like a class of behaviors, not really like the name of the demon. But I guess each demon would have like one core trait or a sin that demon tries to get you to do. And then so the spirit of mammon would be in you. It'd be a demon that's trying to get you to be greedy, even if it's not referring directly to the god.
Very deep.
It's like in the spirit of mammon, I guess. But yeah.
I've heard Pat Robertson refer to lupus as a demon. I joke you not. He said, "You demon lupus." You're right.
I've heard a diabetes called a demon, headache be called demon.
Right.
I forgot the most important
part.
Sorry,
Pat, I cut you off. Sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that this is a deity that was worshipped at the time of the 1st century AD.
Yeah.
Even before that. So, cultic activity, temples, most often represented as among the Syro-Phoenicians. I'm doing this off the top of my head, by the way. I believe it was a male deity, but then the Romans have Fortuna. The Greeks had Tyche. These were deities and also associated with wealth and good fortune. So those were both female. So again, there were gods associated with wealth and prosperity. So.
And I just want to ask one last question. We have to, because I see Will, Jen, and Simos. And so Will is on deck. But I just want to ask one. So why, maybe drop the word angel, maybe it's, you think that it's, because typically what we hear from creationists or theists, you're saying higher beings. But if you're saying an angel, my next question would be, does it have wings? Does it fly? Does it do, other angel-like things? Or is it the universe creator? Or is that the same thing? I guess I just want to ask one more. Do you believe morality just comes from, where do you think morality comes from?
Okay, yeah, this is interesting because this is why Neff kicked me out. First rank of the angel thing. I actually heard this theory from somebody else that Chomsky believes in angels. I'm not sure, have you seen the Foucault versus Chomsky debate?
I don't think so.
Okay, Foucault is like basically the person responsible for postmodernism. He's a very big brain person in the in the debate area. He's a dead French guy now. But in those comments, in that comment section, somebody pointed this out, that Chomsky does believe in angels, and he gave this reasoning, the objective morality thing. And when in Neff, he asked me, where does morality come from? And I told him it comes from materialism. Spiritualism versus materialism. I say it comes from materialism, because let's say in the world was only humans and the sand you were standing on. By dawn, we would turn to cannibalism and all sorts of degeneracy that's unspeakable. Because we need
Jones would.
Yeah, we need the air conditioners. We need the chairs. We need the stuff that gives that allows us to be kind to each other.
Wait, so go back. So you said that if it was just humans and nothing else, so no animals, no plants, nothing else to consume, and that's the basis for, because we'd want sustenance. So forget the microwaves and TVs and stuff. Let's just back up to your example. So we would do immoral things, but wouldn't we sort of count it moral because it's absolutely necessary for our survival?
Well, you would have to kill people and turn their bones into chairs. By the end of the day, that's what you would be doing.
Well, I'm thinking more about, hunger and sustenance and starvation right now.
I mean, you'll do that first, but then you'll take the bones.
I think chairs would be a secondary concern there, Bubbles. I'm not sure, but I'd imagine.
Building chairs out of bones, that would not be the first thing on.
And just to interrupt, so just to clarify, so you don't believe in it coming from a higher power? You said materialism, because I'm going to bring in Will, who I think disagrees. That was surprising. I thought you were going to say a higher power. I thought it was like Noam Chomsky things that.
Let me clarify. I personally don't believe in morality. I'm very from the Michael Foucault school of quote unquote postmodernism or post structuralism. I
Okay.
do, yeah.
Well, we're about to go into open conversation. Let's let Will have his opener. Will, we are having fun. We are talking the 700 Club, where we watch Kenneth Copeland and Pat Robertson have a field day. And yeah, I hope you're doing well. What are your thoughts about anything we watched or talked about tonight?
I've been watching for a little bit, maybe since like 2:30. I always try to go to bed, and you guys always drag me out to jump on here. But no, and Pat, your studio is looking sharp, dude. It's good. For me, the prosperity gospel is abhorrent. So you're not going to get any differentiating opinions from me on that particular topic. The Mark 10 issue, though, I do want to kind of go through the text a little bit and just kind of flesh through what I think Jesus is talking about here. And this is just my kind of... so the young ruler comes to him and says, "Good teacher, what should I do so that I may inherit eternal life?" And Jesus said to me, "Why are you calling me good?" Right? Like that was his first response to the guy. And he says, "No one is good except God alone." And then Jesus says, "You know the commandments." And he intentionally leaves out the first commandment. Right? So if you notice the list that he gives through there, he doesn't mention the first commandment. And so the guy says, "I've done all of these things." And then Jesus basically is giving him a test to see that he can demonstrate that he's keeping all of the law, to see if he's willing to love the Lord his God with all his heart, mind, and soul, which is Jesus's, shortening of the first two commandments, and come and follow me. And the guy was basically like, so he's basically admitting to Jesus that he's considering him to be God, and yet he's not willing to sell everything he had to follow God. It wasn't so much about, I don't think it was so much about him telling him to sell everything that he has. I think it's more about him testing to see if he is idolatrous in his love for money. And then he goes on and he says, it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And the disciples were amazed. And then Jesus said it again. He said, "Children, see how hard." And he goes, it gives the easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom of God. And they were even more astonished. So the disciples were shocked. He's like, "Well, then who can be saved?" Right? I mean, if this, and Jesus or Peter began to say to him, "Behold, we've given up everything we have, right, and followed you." And he basically says, that what is impossible for man, all things are possible for God. So he's saying it's not impossible for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. He's saying it's impossible for a man on his own to enter the kingdom of heaven. That's that's the lesson that Jesus is trying to teach. But I don't disagree that there were practices in the first century church that could be questioned. And even in the New Testament, even in Acts, you have the family who were supposed to sell their land and were killed because they lied about it. But you also have other instances where Peter mentions his rich members of the church who he hasn't asked to sell anything. So, just curious on your thoughts on that.
I've heard people say that that sometimes the New Testament, it gets a little hyperbolic with the speech, like where it says that if your hand offends thee, cut it off, because better to go to heaven with one hand than go to hell with two hands. But people really didn't cut their. It wasn't like a mass.
Well, some people did
cutting their hands off. Did they? Some people.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some hyperbolic sects. Yeah, they did.
The spirit of it would be more metaphorical, like you need to love me that much. I don't know.
Yeah, it's about a heart condition, right? So like I just think that it's very convenient that when Jesus lists off the 10 commandments, he intentionally leaves out the ones that he includes in, right? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and have all those things. Yeah. So which is Jesus summarizes.
You're on mute, Pat.
1 and 2 in that passage.
But he purposely says it is hard for somebody who is rich to enter the kingdom of heaven, right? So he's basically saying, hey, you're better off being poor.
I don't necessarily think he's saying that you're better off to being poor. He's saying it's impossible. He's saying it's impossible for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven due to his love of his money, right? But he says here, what is impossible for people is possible with God. So he's not saying it's impossible for them to enter the kingdom of heaven. What he's saying is it's impossible for them to do it on their own. Otherwise, why would he put that excluder in there?
We did say all things are possible with God.
Yeah.
Right. He also, 2 chapters later in Mark 12, talks about the man who gave much and the woman who gave all. And the widow's mite giving the last of her possessions, her offering was greater than all those because she gave all that she had, not a proportional amount. Several times wealth is brought up, and each and every time giving to the fullest is always considered the greater expression of faith.
Right. I mean, because
it's never,
her,
hey, just give me a little bit.
Sure.
Just give me a cut. No, it's never that. It's always maximal.
Right. So because it shows the heart condition, right? It shows that you're loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, right?
Again,
with whatever means you've been given. Yeah.
Right. Shouldn't he know already? Like if he's omniscient, shouldn't he know without?
He's trying to teach lessons to his disciples, right?
Well, it's not just that. He also says to the disciples when they say, "What about us when we need food and we need this and we need that and we need clothes?" He says, "Don't worry. You don't need those things. God will provide what we need." Basically, you don't need money because that's...
Look at the birds. I take care of them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but didn't he say something to the disciples that only people that hated their brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers could be a disciple?
Yeah, he actually says that in verse 28 of Mark 10.
Yeah.
Or something similar to that. Peter's comment is after the whole rich people can get to heaven, but nothing's impossible for God. That's when Peter actually asks, hey, look, we got rid of everything. We're following you. We've left, truly I tell you, there, and this is Jesus, truly I tell you, there's no one who has left house or brothers or sisters or mothers or fathers, children, or fields, and fields being, how you make crops, for my sake, and for the sake of the good news, who will not receive 100-fold now in this age, houses, brothers, sisters, mothers, and children, and with persecutions, and in the age to come to eternal life. Basically saying but many who are first will be last, and the last will be first. Basically, it's reversing the social standards of wealth and societal standing. Right. That's what he's talking about there.
Right. The money is invaluable. It's your faith that's valuable.
I mean, the whole reason we had this Catholic versus Protestant split was because the Protestant was more pro-working class, while the Catholic was seen as more aristocratic.
That's a very big oversimplification.
Well, you even see this in the Russian Revolution. Like, for example, I'm not sure you know about the Bloody Sunday incident. That was led by a very Catholic. That was led by a Catholic, big Catholic during his time. This is all prior to the Russian Revolution, and for a long time, communism, because even Marx took a lot of his writings from the Bible. So for quite a while, this idea of communism was a little bit linked to the whole Christian movement. With the Protestants.
I think it's usually associated more with the Jewish people. Well, that's actually a cudgel that's used to equate Jews with communists, which is
they say
insulting
because they would say that like I think it was like 80-something% of the Soviet leadership was Jewish heritage or something like that.
Yeah, but I try to stick away from church tradition because it should tend to be filled with 1,000,000,900 billion errors. I try to stick to the theology. So,
well, it's just. I guess my point is, it's just weird that you get from that it's better to give what little you have rather than be rich and not show your love, to prosperity, which is kind of the wealth that you accumulate is a sign of your faith in action, kind of thing. It's just very, very hard for me to like get to that point of going. And I'm not accusing you of this, Will. It's just very strange that someone would read that and go, "Oh, well, obviously,
100%.
the more wealth I have, it shows that God loves me," kind of thing. Like it's just a weird thing to make that leap. It's weird.
No, it is weird. It is completely weird because the whole point of the New Testament and in Jesus' ministry, and I think that the majority of Paul's letters as well, is it's all about a heart condition, right? Faith, right? Don't build for yourself up riches in here, but build for yourself up riches in heaven, right? Like it's eternity is the focus, not the here and now, right? So if you're a slave here, serve your master. Get free if you can, but if you can't, serve your master like you would serve God, right? It's not about our earthly condition, what our situation is here and now. It's about how we view the importance of our eternity. That should be our focus as believers, not the situation that we're in now. So if you're hard off, you're hard off. That's why I'm thinking there's even a Paul says, there's one verse where he says, in whatever condition that you are in when you become a believer, stay there, right? Whether you be poor, stay poor. If you're rich, stay rich, right? If you're married, stay married. If you're not married, I'm not giving this as a command, but stay not married because it's easier for you. You have less things that bog you down. It's about focusing on the eternal picture rather than what we're at now, right? He's like, be content with where you're at. Focus on the things that actually matter, which is eternity.
I'll let one more question, and then the answer. But then I want to bring in Jen, and then I want to bring in Simon's Funk.
Well, I should just say real quick that I think we know the verses in the New Testament where Jesus tells people that to follow him, they have to hate their kids or their parents, their family. I don't think anybody interprets that as literal hate. It's just that he's trying to draw a comparison, like you should love God so much that the love that you have for a person that is the most love that you have is almost like hate because it's so much less.
Okay, so it's more disdain for these earthly attachments, kind of thing.
It's divert your priority, right? Divert your priority from the earthly things to the heavenly things, right? That's what Jesus is trying. The point he's trying to get across.
Not literally hate your family.
Yeah, it's not that he literally hates your family.
Well, I guess I brought it up because he has things that the disciples are expected to do and not just followers kind of thing. Right.
I would just like to point out though.
Sorry, me again.
No.
Me again.
So the rich to stay rich but not haughty is supposedly attributed to Paul, but that's First Timothy and.
Right, I understand the textual criticism fairly well.
I actually like the back and forth. We're actually getting.
You asked for Jen. You got Jen.
Jen.
Mark, you asked for it. You got it.
Woo! Socratic gangbang.
Well, I heard Mark say Socratic gangbang. I was like, oh my god.
He won't let it go. Every time I talk to him, he's talking about Socratic gangbangs.
I make no apologies, Will. No apologies whatsoever.
He said. Oh. Anyway, congrats, Amy James, for getting up to 700. I'm sure we'll be at a grand, 10 grand, and a million grand before long. It'll be the biggest post-debate, chill zone, awesome combos about everything under the sun place on YouTube, and I'll be able to say I was there since the start. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Absolutely.
I laid an egg, and by that I mean wrote a blog post about metaphysics because I just feel like sort of training myself like I was a neural net to find all the error detection and then sort of try to summarize all the errors into the correction of all the errors into one blog post. I just put it in that private chat if anyone wants to check it out.
Correct all of physics, yeah.
I don't actually know if there's a question that was supposed to be explored because the title of the stream is just the 700. So unless there was something in particular, I'll just absolutely, and all good.
That sounds good. And actually, there is a theme. We're doing a combo. I think we created a pun. I'm not 100% sure. We are celebrating 700 members, and we watched a video.
Yeah, it was a dual
700 members.
Yes, right?
700 subscribers.
Okay, I was gonna say
yeah.
members are paying money a month, right?
Yeah, we're
That's right. No.
I was like, wow.
I can't even get members until 1,000, I guess. We're moving along, baby. It's feeling good.
So subscribe. Please subscribe.
Subscribe to the channel,
1,000. Yeah, absolutely.
We just decided to poison our minds by listening to Pat Robertson and Kenneth Copeland.
Woo!
Oh my gosh. It was like
torture.
Yeah, it was like everyone's granddad talking to the Antichrist. They were just coming together. Good old times.
And the Holy Spirit's trying to block out James' mic. That's what he's doing right now. I was kidding.
We are so rich.
And all right, we are moving along. We're going to add in Simos and then go back into open conversation. Simos, hope you're fine.
Arsenal.
Hey, how you doing, people? All right, first of all, I think church is just a load of pish. By pish, I mean it in the Scottish sense. Anyway, let me just get over my Arsenal butt-hurtness and just say, listening to those two guys earlier, it reminded me of those two characters in Sesame Street, not Sesame Street. Yeah, was it Sesame Street? The two old guys in the balcony.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's the Muppet Show.
Muppet Show. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
yes.
Muppets.
Thank you very much. I'm a bit older than I sound.
The old guys. The old ones.
The two old guys. I can't remember what the old gits I used to call them. And just always whinging and complaining, really, as soon as the camera wasn't on them. And just looking down,
comment section.
and looking down on everybody, and having the expensive seats, But nonetheless, no, I think prosperity gospel is a natural step, I think, in church evolution, because the Catholic Church, famous in the Middle Ages for selling indulgences, the Jesuits, famous for giving away all their wealth and having a doctrine of hard, prosperous work to become, in order to send and increase the size of their particular monastery. And some of the monasteries became extremely rich, so rich, in fact, they challenged the Catholic Church. And then up into the further north you go, the more this happens. Then you get into Protestantism, and of course they're famous. The Quakers famous for their work ethic, and likewise, if you have a strong work ethic, you are going to be obtaining wealth, and congregating or at least congealing wealth around whichever institution you happen to belong to, and that's very clear in England. Throughout the early Anglican Church, as Canterbury becomes more and more, and the churches get built, in fact, but as Canterbury becomes more and more prosperous and wealthy, the symbols become richer, and the ceremonies become more and more entwined, more and more Catholic in their outlook, in fact. And of course, then it gets transferred to America, where you get this extreme ideology in terms of freedom, and that's where the issue really becomes, because I think it is just a matter of the culture at which those churches are based in, that they have such an emphasis on wealth, where there's no real societal structure in terms of government structure, and for good reasons, because obviously it comes from a secular constitution. So I think that tension is really the reason that these guys get so much attention themselves. And I think it's disgusting, of course, because in some sense they're doing and proving why Scientology is so successful. Okay, because that idea comes directly from the Protestant Church, I think, and these prosperity gospel preachers, which I think L. Ron Hubbard must have noticed and gone, wow, that's how you achieve real wealth. And so, yeah, I'm obviously ultra skeptical of it. I think there is and it comes really from this conflict within the Bible, and especially the New Testament, about having this, shall we say, the hippie Jesus, as people, try to straw man it as, which is give away everything, and then the other side, which is, make sure you give money to the church and make sure you have something to give money to the church. And that contradiction, I think, is evident throughout, so tithing and the product of tithing that happens all the way through Europe and through the Middle Ages becomes something which is the church relies on. And as such, I think this is just an extension, although instead of these guys doing it for the benefit of a centralized power like like Rome, etc., they're doing it for their own benefit and the centralized power that they achieve within their congregation. They just do it on a much bigger scale than has been done before because they have access to mega churches, etc., etc. So that's kind of where I land with the prosperity gospels. I don't think it's unbiblical in a sense. So, but it does show this contradiction, which you can get most things from the Bible, once again, depending on which scriptures you wish to pay attention to and which you don't. And I know that there are apologetics against it, but I would be hard pressed to say that you could read the whole Bible and not take it. So, like with most things, just another contradiction which we have to live with in this wonderful book, which has been accumulated over generations.
Yeah, I think for me too, and what I see that, and I think what I think makes it unbiblical is that the scriptures, for instance, that talk about taking care of the sick and the poor. The scripture doesn't put that as a requirement for the church as a structure. It puts it on the requirement of the individual believer. And so when the church tried to centralize that authority in themselves, I think that's where the error is, right? I'm supposed to help people in need myself, right? Not necessarily just, I gave my 10% to the church, so I'm good, right? Like that's not the intent of the scripture. And it's supposed to be a community where the community is taking care of those who are in need.
Why shouldn't the church help poor people and people in need? Why shouldn't the church do that?
The church as meaning not necessarily the church as an just the church. It's the people who make up the church, right? The people are the church. The church is just a building and a structure where people meet and gather. And in fact, in most cases, people met in their homes for the first 100 years, right? So it wasn't necessarily that they had fixed places. It was supposed to be that the people in that community were taking care of each other, loving each other, giving those to who were in need, right? Taking care of widows and taking care of sick people and taking care of those people who were in need. It wasn't, I gave my 10% to the church, now I'm done. And if the church does a good job or not, it's really not my responsibility, right? Our what we were called to do as believers was simply just take care of the elders and the pastors of the church to make sure that they had enough to survive on because they labor in our stead, right? That was the intent of giving money to the church, was simply just to help make sure that the people who are preaching, who were elders and pastors of the church, had what they needed to survive. It wasn't to make them rich and have private jets and fly around the country and I as a believer give only 10% of my wealth to the church, and if the church does a good job with that wealth, then great. If not, then it's not my problem. I don't think that's what the scripture entails at all.
Well, I really got to push back on that, mate, because even like any entity, you're talking about the church as an entity, and I think any entity, even when you go to corporations and things, because I've worked in multiple corporations, they have a social responsibility. They do feel they are obliged to give to charity and to support projects in the area. And admittedly, it's to look good to the people. I don't claim that they do it out of complete altruism, but I think that any entity has a responsibility to share the fortune that they have, and churches do have a large amount of fortune.
Right, but I'm saying they shouldn't.
But,
I'm saying they should.
But the system
they absolutely should.
Well, the system set up in the Bible.
The churches should have a fortune?
No, the system.
The system in the
the system in the Bible sets up that the church will have more than everybody else. I mean, it's 10% of everybody's earning year on year.
Even people that can't afford it, people struggling, absolutely struggling.
I mean, that's exponential growth, right? If they start using that themselves.
Well, I mean, so Christianity was markedly different than the Judaism that had preceded it. I mean,
10% was a Jewish thing.
Particularly when in the early
Catholic
Christian
Church still does it.
Yeah,
and we don't use the word communism because that's a modern term, right? But early Christians were communal. They were communalists.
Very much.
And I mean, if you follow, if you follow what was said in Acts, beginning Acts 4, like verse 32, early Christians, in order to prove their faith and the community in Jerusalem, they actually rejected private ownership and held everything in common, and it was approved of by the apostles at this point, particularly James and John, right? So they actually sold their land, they sold their money, and they actually mentioned one guy named Barnabas who sold his fields, brought the money, laid at the apostles' feet. These acts of complete rejection of personal wealth in order to have it go into this communal pool so that everybody could be fed, everybody could be clothed. And it wasn't like being clothed to the extent where you had nice things. It was so that no one would be poor, right, and destitute, that they would have this. And again, this communalism was very pronounced through the early Christian church. This was the default setting, not the rare bunch of hippies. Christians in the 1st and 2nd century were hippies. It was by the late 2nd century they started coming up with ideas how to get around. Oh, it's okay for me to have wealth because this passage in a pastoral says it's okay as long as I'm not being haughty or pretentious about my wealth. But again, that's not how early Christians projected and maintained what they believed to be the key tenets of the faith as far as property were concerned.
Yeah, it's funny.
But that's not the majority of the history, is it, by far, though?
Later, once the Catholic Church becomes God, then it changes for sure.
Yeah, it's funny how Christianity became from like lib left to alt right, and there is like some sort of weird paradigm because, for example, the Jonestown was a communist and Christian. It was a cult.
For sure.
That it was.
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily analogous to the conversation that we're having now. Like, for instance, I would still think that if you are attending a church and you're giving your 10%, and there are other people, and you're driving your Range Rover to church every Sunday, and there's somebody there who can't even make their rent, right? And you commute, but because you've given your 10% to the church, but the church isn't helping that person out, I think that's sin.
No, I think what's the important thing is it's spiritualism versus materialism again, because communism is about abandoning materialism and still being a comrade, being more to your neighbors.
That's not real communism.
And I think it's terrible that the church takes 10% of everybody's money, doesn't pay tax, and has no obligation to help out that person. Yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
I agree with you, 100%.
I just want to say, communalism is not communism.
Yeah,
they're very related.
No, they're not.
That's like saying syndicalism is not related to communism. They're very related.
I went out with somebody who lived under communism in Bulgaria in the 70s and 80s, and she grew up in the 70s and 80s, and she was educated by the communists, and given a bank account by the communists, given a loan by the communists to buy a house by the communists to get herself educated and a husband and live, right? So this communism is not something about just having everything and sharing it. It really is a different system, which unless you actually get into the nuance of it, you're not really exploring what it is.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, you said you're a Calvinist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean that you deny free will?
Yes.
So is everything God and just like God living out God's plan, and we're just like have a temporary little flicker of an illusion that we have autonomy.
Yeah, it's an illusion of autonomy. Yes.
So
Yeah.
why
So
would God-
you don't
why
think
would-
God has free will, do you, Will? Because I've
No,
talked
this is
to
a
you
new.
about
This
before,
is a new. This is a new.
and I found that fascinating.
According to Sam Harris,
is.
have you actually followed anything Sam Harris has been saying about free will lately, Mark? It's pretty
Yeah, he doesn't
interesting.
believe we have free will either because we
Yeah.
make the
Well, he's
decision and
actually
then
gotten to, like-
rationalize it.
I
he's
just
gotten
want to
to a more
point out
subtle-
that Will
Sorry,
said
go ahead.
earlier that Jesus and God tested somebody to see if they would give away their money, or is that
Well, I mean,
what
he knew
said?
the answer in advance, but yeah,
Okay.
he's basically showing them to knowing what the guy is gonna. I mean, because that's how the reason why
He knew the
I
guy
can
was going to
assume.
do it. It's not
Yeah.
really a test, is it?
Yeah.
I mean,
So, and that's why Jesus intentionally leaves out that commandment, right?
yeah, exactly.
I want to clarify something. When communists say Stalinism wasn't communism, they're actually correct, because when they talk about communism, they mean it in the communal sense of anarchist communism. So yes, it wasn't real communism, but we know where it came from.
I mean, that's like the no true Scotsman thing.
It is.
Most of Stalin's thing were based on communism.
It's a fallacy,
Just because you
but-
take out the manifesto and you see there's like, oh, well, they didn't do it exactly like Karl Marx said, therefore it's not really communism.
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, it's
they're
largely based on his ideology.
well, yeah, their ideology requires authoritarianism. They don't realize it,
Yeah,
but
well, no, they do, and they're just not anarchists; they're anti-fascists, and there's a big difference, isn't there?
well, they want to be anarchists while also rejecting, people having property, and they don't see
I don't
the
think they want to
contradiction.
be. No, I don't think.
I
they
don't
wanna
think
be
that's what anarchy means.
Anarchy means no government. They definitely want government.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
definitely they,
so
they
they're
don't.
You
not
can
see the-
still have property under anarchy. That's not a problem. It's just
Yeah.
the executive is the thing that's missing.
Right.
Yeah, but
You can still even have a legislature like the Irish government at one point was syndico-anarchy. It basically used syndicates but had no actual executive branch of the government.
Yeah, but this is what the quote unquote communists say. They want to be anarchists and communists at the same time. So they
Do
want
they?
to be like, yes, this is what they want. But in the sense, you would have to be Jesus for that even to work. Because the reason communism doesn't work is because communists as a people don't exist. Like
I don't know what we're talking about.
well, you can see a monarchist. You can see a person who's a democratic. Those are real people. But
I think we've gone off topic, Bubbles. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we've gone
Yeah.
way away onto a sort of
I don't know how
political
that.
spectrum.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if Jen had finished sort of asking Will, because it sounded like you were really interested in Will's free will.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jen.
I was
we've
just
lost
curious how you came to that awareness. That's all.
Of free will not existing?
Of why you could embrace the notion that essentially there's only God's will, if I'm understanding that correct.
I mean, because if God is a sovereign God, then there's only God's will. He's a triomni being, and this is
So
kind
you're
of
saying if there's a sovereign, then there's
Can I-
only one
if
sovereign.
there's a sovereign who's a
It's still
creator
like
of
what is
everything.
it, a Highlander kind of thing?
Can I ask a question?
There can be only one. Nice.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there, Jen.
Also, Will, is it fair to say then that because you don't think there's a problem with because there's a problem of evil, and that God created everything, including evil, then presumably the free will defense is no longer necessary?
Well, I think that and this is what Mark was. I forgot your name there for 2 seconds. I don't know why. This is what Mark was alluding to. We had a good discussion the other day, and I've kind of been working with the thing that I've been trying to focus on the triomni attributes of God and what that entails, like logically. And if you're truly a triomni being, then in essence you really only have a illusion of free will, because you're only doing what you do. So that you can't really choose to do other things, right? Can God lie? No, because if he speaks something, it becomes reality, right? Could God choose a different option? But technically he could, but it's not. The option doesn't exist because he creates all that is, unless he's done it.
Well,
so if he hasn't done it, it doesn't exist.
Well,
The option he chooses is consistent with his nature. So if he chose something else, it would not be.
It would not be
with who he
nature.
is.
So in essence, God
So,
doesn't have free will himself. And James, you froze, so that's why I can or maybe I froze. I froze, I guess.
About.
I got a question.
When someone asks you about the God making a
That
rock
sounds
so
good
big
to
you
me,
can't lift
Simon.
it,
Thank you.
how do you answer that? I'm not saying it's a problem, but how do you address the whole God? Can God make a rock so big you can't lift it? That's basically that God doesn't have free will. The answer to that quandary or paradox
He's
is
not
that God
all
doesn't have free
powerful,
will.
is what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absurd
Maximally
question,
powerful.
right? And that's been proven through philosophical debate that a triomni being asking him, can he make a box so small that he can't fit into it, is a reductio absurdum, right?
Well,
And
it
the
is
theological
reductio ad
answer is,
absurdum.
I mean, it's a
You have to go
paradox,
farther
but
to
I'm not
say
sure.
where's the problem. Like I can tell you with my God why my God can't make a rock so big my God can't lift it, because that would violate the definition. But
Right, and it would be the
with
same
you, I'm just
answer
wondering,
theologically for a triomni God. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the exact same
Being
answer.
a triomni God have to do with
You
anything?
can only do what's logically possible, because it's logically possible.
No,
is
that's a
described.
maximally powerful God, Simon.
Because. Okay.
Do you think
Yeah,
God?
so that's why
part of
most
his nature,
apologists
right?
use
Logic is part of his
maximally.
nature, so he
Yeah.
can only do what's according to his
See,
nature, which is
logic.
Yeah.
Well, do you
Logic
think God?
conforms to his nature. So yeah.
God creating a rock, he'll be able to lift it in the theological context of Christianity's triomni God. Therefore, if God creates, God controls. By that,
right?
He would be.
But the conversation I was having with Will is the way that he explained it to me, and the way that I wrapped my head around what he was trying to say is that if God's omniscient, he's at the end of a movie. Basically, all the events are already done. He's basically everything's set already. So,
and if it's a Marvel movie, he actually knows a secret little clip at the end too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's the whole thing.
Sweet.
Well,
so it's already done.
Do you think your God has a monopoly on power?
Yes.
Well, how come you have power right now? Can you explain that?
He doesn't think we do.
You don't.
Then how the heck are you moving?
I'm moving
God
because
wants
God
him
is
to move.
allowing me to move.
But that power is not even. Are you saying you're a God?
No.
Then how?
I don't understand how this follows logically.
To me, it's the same as saying God is the prime mover. Like, how is this different than God is the prime mover? And I'm not trolling. I'm honestly curious.
Well, God can be the prime mover, but you can still have free will within that construct or whatever it is that was created. Will's basically saying that you don't have free will inside the construct, like a time travel movie where everything's already happened already, and we're just following what has already happened according
It's
to
already
his
been predestined. Yeah.
Predestination, perfect. That's the word I was actually thinking of. Yes.
But Will does say that you have to cooperate with it. Like God's not forcing you because you would agree to it. Yeah.
But we agree to it because God's predestined us to agree to it. Right? We're the ones that are carrying out those acts, right? God isn't doing those acts. You're the one who's enacting them. God has predestined for you to do those things, right? So up the scale of the cause and effect ratio, God is the ultimate authority on the cause and effect.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's the point then? Is it to realize that God is in control of everything? Like
if he's the creator of all that exists, would he not be?
Well, I'm thinking of selling it as a goal-oriented thing. It's like long-term. What we're looking for is devotees to understand that there really is only one.
What devotees are we looking for?
I'm asking you for the devotees of your religion that the goal long-term, just so I understand. I'm trying to understand what the goal is. Is it to align one's awareness with this latent fact that is unchangeable?
The goal is to believe.
We don't agree, but theoretically, if we thought about it enough, we would, and that's desirable to have the realization that they're of predestination.
The goal is just to believe and have faith, to do things for God's pleasure. That's the goal.
Okay, well, for there to be a monopoly on power would have to mean there's a finite amount of power, which there is no such thing as a finite amount of power.
All the power that exists in your definition it only exists because God's created it.
Maybe inside our universe, but outside of it lies chaos.
Why would outside of our universe
outside the
lie
universe.
No idea what that
chaos?
means.
You do realize our universe is finite, right?
No,
We
Yes.
don't know that.
no,
Yes,
no,
we do.
no.
Background
Yeah.
radiation. Don't let me
So
get
why
into
does
background.
that? Why does outside of our universe exist only chaos?
Because it would have to be chaos outside our universe.
Why?
We don't know that.
Yes, because all gods have.
Did
Okay,
you just
gods.
presuppose chaos, bro?
No,
Come on.
if you say God, you have to presuppose chaos. That's the thing.
Why?
In order
God
to
is
have,
the order bringer.
yeah, because if God is bringing order, you have to presuppose chaos.
So
No,
if we
Man,
live in a
that's fucking
multiverse,
genius.
Why do you have to
It's quite
presuppose
possible
That's
that-
chaos?
actually genius.
That's what the pagans used to think.
Thank you.
God exists.
you could have other universes where things are different, so it would look completely crazy to us because we're used to this universe. But you could have a universe where time runs backwards, and they would look at us and think
That's
we're
a different
so
universe.
strange over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mathematically, it all works the
Chaos
same.
exists because God has created chaos to exist through the fall of man. This is the second topic that I'm currently studying and exploring that Mark knows about, that I've kind of hinted to him my thoughts on this, that the knowledge that that the fall of man in Genesis, the tree of knowledge or good of knowledge of good and evil, is reason itself. So before then, no suffering existed. So we were probably more like automatons then, with no reason of our own. Yes, they didn't even know that they were naked, right? If you do not feel any pain, there is no pleasure, because you have to be able to reason pain and pleasure apart from each other. And the temptation that the serpent gave them was, you will become like God, knowing the difference of good and evil, being able to reason.
Okay, I was taught the story of Adam and Eve very different from you. I was taught that the snake was Lucifer, and he told them, "Look,
Doesn't say it's Lucifer.
Well, this is how I was taught from the Luciferian doctrine. Not sure if you heard of that. Basically, when God created Adam and Eve, they didn't know about death, but he told Adam and Eve they have to eat plants. Why would God tell them they have to eat plants? Because God knows they will die, but Adam and Eve don't know this yet, and so the snake comes in. So the snake comes and tells them, eat this plant, and gives them knowledge. In that way, the snake, who is Lucifer, has granted them the possibility for free will. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Not everybody has free will. That's definitely not. But you need free will in order to create a soul, because God cannot create a soul, and that's
free
that
will.
right there.
How does God not create the soul?
Yeah,
How does
God cannot create a soul
and other people don't? How is that? How does some people have?
Okay.
I understand you either believe in free will or you don't, but how does some people have it and some people don't?
Because you
How
have
does that work?
Okay, because when you're born, you don't have free will. You have the potentiality free will, because it's you also don't have a soul. You have the potentiality for a soul, and so God cannot create souls. God has to create these beings.
Then God is not omnipotent.
No, he's not, because outside is chaos.
Okay, right, but I'm saying the Bible describes a God that is omnipotent.
Yeah, but outside is chaos, and you can't contend with that.
No, that's what you say. There's chaos.
It has to be, because you have
chaos
to.
exists.
Because when you say God brought order,
that's
you
a
have
claim.
to. When you say God brought order, you have to presuppose chaos.
You do not.
Sure. That's
Yes,
your
you do.
claim, and that's your
In
claim.
fairness.
And there's plenty of biblical doctrine over the last 2,000 years which have been put against the idea that the Greeks had, that everything comes from chaos. Plenty.
And plus, Will, to be fair, the whole idea that everything is predestined, that's a claim as well.
100%. Right,
Yeah.
but I'm saying if you're doing a critique, his critique doesn't nullify my claim. Right. His assertion saying that everything comes from chaos is no more absurd than my assertion of saying everything's predestined. The two don't.
I would agree with that.
One doesn't
They're
logically.
both presuming things. They
exactly.
don't know exactly.
Right. My presumption is a tri-omni God.
But under chaos, there is no predestined.
Okay.
What is chaos?
Yeah, but then the
though,
God's
in
not.
abstract? What is it? I mean,
Yeah, I
if
feel
God
like you're
did
using.
create, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, James. Go ahead.
So you have to be
No,
a
go.
dualism.
No, I just said, what is chaos even?
Waters of the deep, isn't
With
it?
nothing. You know, if God created everything, then without God,
Chaos
there
is
wouldn't
the
even be
opposite of
chaos. It
order.
would just be nothing. Yeah, there would just be nothing.
I don't even know what nothing is. Like, I
I
understand
don't know.
the philosophical nothing, but I don't understand, like, how can nothing... I think it was Tracy Harris that brought it up, how can nothing be something? Because
it's impossible to conceptualize, really.
Yeah, it's
What it
chaos.
would even be.
Chaos is the opposite of order.
Yeah, I feel like you're using chaos in a way that none of us understand. I feel like
No, we understand. I mean, everybody's right. Chronos, right? Everybody's
It's
heard of
really
Chronos and
obscure. Like I
time-
thought that
time
meant that
sorting-
a chaotic
sorting
system, like the
order
more you
from
went
chaos.
back towards the beginning, the more it depended on the original conditions or something. It's some really obscure mathematical definition.
Yeah, we can't
Chaotic
even
systems.
I don't think it's difficult.
trying to picture chaos in your head.
It's just
Go back
chaotic.
to a singularity. That's not chaos. That's just a single point of energy.
Right, but if I could say that, what my theory is saying that before the fall of man, chaos didn't exist, right?
Everything was ordered.
Because everything was perfectly ordered. There was no chaos.
Are you
And
talking
with the
about, like,
fall,
the concept of chaos in, like, physics, like chaos theory? Because we know there's underlying order in chaos. Like fractals, they take a chaotic pattern and replicate it, and it becomes ordered. Weather patterns.
Well, here's the
really
thing.
approaching here, Mark. I'm afraid.
Here's the thing with chaos. Chaos does not mean disorder. You can have order within chaos, but you cannot have chaos within order. If that kind of clears a little bit of this thing.
There's a really kind of obscure definition for what a chaotic system is. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like a system that the more you go back towards its original conditions, I don't know. It's complete. I can't even remember it. It's very. It says when the present determines the future, but the approximate present does not approximately determine the future. Bit tough to follow that one, eh?
But
Thanks, Jen.
In the context of
Thanks, Jen.
mythology of the ancient Mesopotamia, chaos is an unordered state. Even in the Genesis account, Genesis 1, God's ordering of the primordial elements, water, air, mist, that's all. There's chaos before God speaks. And it's the same as in other Mesopotamian mythology, that chaos is the state before creation by the gods. That's even, you look at Egypt, look at ancient Greece, it's a metaphysical state, right, of elements in the world, right? Or if you want to call it natural states. And it is the gods, and in case of Yahweh, the God, the creator God, and multiple gods, by the way, because Yahweh talks about this plural, that this is a creation, and the ordering of the world is that order, right? That taking things from a chaotic state, separating them into their natures, and giving form to something that was formless. I mean, I know we want to talk about physics, but that's, again, these concepts were ubiquitous throughout the Mediterranean and ancient Near East. So
I seem to recall the mythology of, I think it was China, had a giant splitting an egg with an axe that was like everything around him was chaos. I'd have to look it up, but I kind of remember that in one of either Chinese or Japanese mythology.
There's a turtle in one of them, that their society was birthed from a turtle.
I believe that's Japanese.
And then Koreans, they have their creation story is about like snow gods. There's a bear god who took a woman, and their son was the creation.
I'm going to 7-Eleven. I'll be back, guys, later.
All
right, see you, Bubbles.
Good luck, Bubbles.
Chinese mythology, the first being named Pangu, was sleeping for 18,000 years. One day when he woke up, he found himself in an egg surrounded by chaos, took an axe, split it open, and brought order. Yeah, so this chaos thing does seem to
where do you get the axe from, though? God,
I have no... Look, I'm just
no idea about
I didn't make it up, all right, Simon?
He ordered it through Amazon. It took 3 days to be delivered.
Lately, it's been taking 5 days. Just saying.
And that's the one thing. Even like when you have multiple mythical traditions within the same region, like we have multiple Christian mythologies coming out of Egypt, out of other places in the ancient Near East. You don't have to be singular, because all these myths do kind of is explain the formation, right? Creation, if you want to call it just simply creation, but the theme is largely chaos. Then the gods bring order, right? So it's not a really hard.
So it's kind of, I agree with you. What brought it up for me was that Mark had asked me, why suffering, right? Could God create a world where suffering didn't exist? And I said, well, he kind of did, right? Suffering didn't exist at the beginning, and it doesn't exist in the end of the story. We're just kind of in a period. And what made me thought about that is, can suffering exist without reason? If we can't reason that we're suffering, are we truly suffering? We may be physically suffering, but we're not understanding that we're suffering. So there was no understanding. Without knowledge of good and evil, there's no understanding whether you're suffering or not. So,
but I think that goes against the text, because Eve clearly reasons to like when the serpent talks to her, she clearly says, hey, God told me this.
Right, she's just regurgitating A and B. She's not making a choice herself. She's not reasoning herself.
She's clearly making a consideration between what the serpent is telling her and what God has told her in the past. Well, it certainly seems that way to me. I mean, you might disagree, but if you come across somebody that says, "Hey, this," and you say, "Oh, but God told me this," which contradicts it, you're clearly making some kind of attempt to reason through the two contradictory things that you've been told.
Yeah, that kind of brings up the point about the punishment that Adam and Eve get, right? If you're
Did
saying
they deserve it? Yeah.
Well, no, not that they deserve it, because of course they did. I mean, let's face it. But the point being is that if you're saying that it's just that their state is that of unawareness of their actual situation.
Yeah.
And that they would have died anyway. And just they become unaware of everything, then they realize they're going to die. Well, that's not God giving them a punishment.
I don't necessarily think. I don't necessarily think that if creation was perfect. So if you're living in a perfect world, which God, I'm just going by the narrative of the text, right? And the narrative of the text says that it was perfect, right?
Yeah. It was
so then there's no suffering, and they had no knowledge of what was good and evil, right? If you don't know, if they have no knowledge of what is good and evil, how could they even know that they were making the wrong choice?
Right.
Which is ultimately the most important question, because the serpent pre-exists. It's a creature that was created, right? God created the serpent, right? So the serpent exists as an agent of chaos, evil, whatever theme you want to use.
Yeah. Or God's will.
And whatever. But God's will is then that the serpent will test, and it basically, if you expect Eve to do anything else other than to fall because she doesn't have a perfect understanding, a creature that does have an understanding, right? The serpent is the wildest and most cunning of all creatures in the garden, according to the text, right? So God puts a 4-year-old up against, super genius and expects a different outcome.
He doesn't expect a different outcome.
No, and in fact, he had already established that would happen in the first place, because don't forget, there's no free choice, including God. So he's already established that.
Right. Well, in a non-free will worldview, yes, the fall is predestined. If you ascribe to free will, then free will would be, in many ways, that first choice by Eve wasn't actually free. It was an actual conditional.
Now I would say that this is biggest proof. This is the biggest proof for the absence of free will in humanity. Because if she did not know what was good or evil before biting the apple, how could she know that her choice was good or evil? She wouldn't.
No, clearly.
So she couldn't have had a free choice.
So why punish her for that?
Because they disobey God. But God can punish whom he wills.
If they don't have free will, he made them disobey him and then punished them for what he made them do.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
What a
Jesus,
psycho!
I'm guessing,
Sure.
I'm guessing
Paul would say
Jesus
the same thing, right? In Romans 8 and 9.
Right.
I mean, that's what
Jesus
Paul
didn't do
says.
his- I'm guessing Jesus didn't do his homework.
I like this. God creates a world full of sheep and lambs.
Yep.
And then he creates a wolf and drops it in the pen. And then he blames the sheep for it being eaten. Because it's the same analogy.
Yeah.
And so what he did is he placed a wolf outside the pen, and he told the sheep, "Don't leave the pen," and the sheep left the pen. Yeah, because he gave a command: "Don't eat from this tree."
The garden was separate. Again, if they had no knowledge of good or evil.
No. I'm saying. I'm throwing that in there for the analogy of the.
Under this analogy, he left the keys to the pen with the wolves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it's true. The sin was not submitting to the will of God.
Right.
That is perfectly consistent.
Well, no, the
Perhaps
sin was
Calvinists
going
are the
against
only
God.
consistent Christians.
Well,
Remains to
yeah,
be seen.
The sin is breaking God's commandment, whether or not you have
Right.
knowledge.
Oh, disobeying God. Yeah.
Disobeying the commandment of God. Yep, that was the sin.
Yeah. Disobeying
Everything
God.
else is completely immaterial.
Irrelevant. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or-
without knowing that there was a consequence, of course.
Alternative hypothesis. It's
Well,
just
couldn't have
knew,
known
they
that.
should have
A
known because
myth.
God commanded it, right?
Mark's on.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, it depends what it depends
Well,
whether
that's the
God
I'm sorry,
Lies
Mark.
gives
What did
free
you say?
will or
I
not.
missed what you said.
I just said alternatively, it's just a myth.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Myths are where morality comes from, so it's non-trivial for something to be a myth. You might as well
Sure.
consider
I
it
don't
real.
think so.
For me, I mean, you can get.
Definitely.
According to my theology, you could think it's nothing but a myth, right? So I'm cool with that. So.
So what does it mean if someone
Wait,
thinks it's a myth?
Not to be snarky, I'm just saying.
How does your theology go, yes, it could be a myth if you have to have faith to get into heaven? I
No,
don't
I'm
understand.
cool with you thinking it's a myth.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
He's
worries.
a Calvinist. He doesn't care whether you go to hell.
No, I thought he was saying it's fine
No,
in my
that-
theology.
that's the straw man. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Will. You
he's-
may care about it.
Yes, I do
but
care.
Ultimately, it's up to God. So
Correct.
if God decides otherwise, then he doesn't care about it.
But
Well, I just don't have any control over it.
I just
Well, you
want to
don't care
say
about it either.
myth is the projection of a society's cultural norms and mores, not the other way around. Myth doesn't make
Yeah,
morals. Morals
prove
make
that.
myths. Very
You cannot
simple.
prove that, dear. You're asserting that with no whatsoever.
I can't because myths are mutable, right? We
So-
see cyclic change in myths in time.
And we see cyclic change in the level of morality of civilization. To say one caused the other is to misunderstand the direction in which culture flows.
Really, the gods send it down, and then
Everything
Culture
starts from
project-
God, because remember, God's the universe. So
Oh,
it's just
okay.
there as the substrate
Awesome.
reality.
awesome. Okay.
You don't have
Right.
to agree with it, but that's the classical position. Like, that's the
No.
defensible position on God.
I don't agree with it because Will's been taking the mickey out of me being an Arsenal supporter all fucking day, and
Will's
that is
position
purely
is
and that is purely a
basically-
cultural moray. I
He's
can assure you.
basically got the exact same belief
From
as
one
me.
that I don't belong to, mind you.
Yeah, and on top of that, yeah.
I have the basically same belief as Will, though. Like, I
What?
basically
Tottenham?
believe that what he believes, sans the biblical stuff, is essentially unfalsifiable.
So do you believe in free will, Jen?
I don't know about
That's what I was gonna ask.
Degrees of freedom.
Sorry, James. I'm sorry, mate.
No,
I always ask.
no. Yeah.
I always jump in
That's a good
before people and
question.
ask what they're going
You
to
see-
ask. It's a terrible habit.
It just happens. But do you believe
Amy
in free
got
will,
bored and
Jen?
left.
If we look at it in terms of a binding problem, on the one end you have quantum fuzziness, which is like the slit experiment, where you can't tell in advance of the experiment where the electron's going to go if there's a sufficiently small slit. So that is basically your limit, which you can say that will disprove hard determinism. So we have like the limit, which is hard determinism, which we have to sort of back up one step from, because we have this phenomenon of uncertainty, which we don't quite know what it means, but we do know that it means that we can prove that there are some circumstances where we can't have determinism, because the Heisenberg uncertainty principle is by definition non-deterministic. It's probabilistic.
Some element of randomness you would need
So
to
you-
enter
So-
the system.
So
there's-
do you
there's a
believe
door
in free
open.
will
I think
under a
there's still an
certain
equals sign in it.
range? We have a certain range of free will, is what I'm hearing.
So that's one end of the binding problem, is this uncertainty. The other end is that we live in a universe where the laws are constant, like the functioning of gravity and electricity, like the fundamental manner in which that operates doesn't change. So you have two ends of a spectrum, and what we experience as free will, in my opinion, is that there's degrees of freedom corresponding to like a thermodynamic system. So if you spend a lot of time thinking, you have more degrees of freedom, i.e. more different thoughts that you're capable of thinking at once. So what I think we experience, what the feeling, quote unquote, of free will is the amount of time you can hold more than one possible thought in your awareness without committing to one, aka waveform reducing into one of the eigenstates. Like, for example, sort of a cheesy example of just like looking in your closet at what you're going to wear that day type thing. Not a great example, but
I think in scripture
there's people
That's
like who
Schrodinger's
basically
cat,
don't
Amy's
have
cat.
any volition, right? They're just going through life
Yeah.
on autopilot. But then there's people who are like spending years thinking like, what am I going to do? So there's definitely a range of what you could say would be control over the outcome of things. But when you use a word like free, it's like free from what? That's where it becomes hard.
Libertarian, I think, is what they mean by free will, like libertarian will. But I think that there's some room for that in scripture, because there are verses that say a man plans his thoughts, but God guides his steps. So maybe there's something tied here. Now, like I said, this is a new theory for me, so I'm bouncing ideas inside my brain here. Maybe that's tied within the knowledge of good and evil, with being able to reason. That we have some sort of free thought, but it doesn't ever manifest outside of our of God's will. I don't know. It's a tough concept.
Well, someone brought up Sam Harris, and Sam Harris doesn't think we have free will. He thinks that our brains, due to the way they're structured and the neural pathways, will just do things, and then we rationalize decisions.
I think he's right.
I'm not convinced, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a overwhelming amount of evidence that that's the case, even though it is a very interesting and very good hypothesis. I don't know how you would test that. And there are a lot of neurologists that do disagree with him. So, I think that one's up in the air at the moment.
Yeah, it's up in the air. It's not definitively. There's not enough evidence on either side.
Right.
The complexity of the system would lead you to believe that it's still an open question.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's fascinating. Like I've read.
Yeah, most people are going to be compatible with it.
I mean,
just by the nature of just through abduction, really.
I mean, they can see brain activity in a certain area before the person has a conscious thought of it.
I think we can literally
the brain was computing that and getting ready for it.
Yeah. Like theologically, I think I just did.
To disprove it conclusively as what people think it is. The whole principles thing, we can disprove it all. How do we feel about that?
There's lots of philosophers which are dualists, and obviously they rely on the intentional states to disprove our determinism.
Yeah, but I think that for anybody who holds to the Christian faith, I don't know how you could get around. How could they have had free will if they didn't even know the difference between good and evil?
Because it was a myth.
I mean, I understand that, but logically, if going by the narrative, how can you justify one without the other?
Well, them sinning and going against God is free will, isn't it? Isn't that them willing to sin is the proof that they had free will?
But they had no culpability because they didn't even know that it was wrong to disobey God, because they had no concept of morality. They had no moral compass.
Well, there's a better one, which is how can God be omniscient and you still have free will? Because if he knows everything that's going to happen, then there's no possibility to make a choice outside of what he knows.
Exactly.
So that's an even worse paradox for the non-Calvinist theist. I'll put out there. So
Arminians, I would say. Arminians.
I think the argument that I think I've heard William Lane Craig say this, that evil is just the depravity. The lack. Thank you. The lack of evil, right? Is the lack of evil. Good is just the lack of evil. Evil is the lack of good. And I think that actually gives you a good idea that you don't need evil.
You can't have good without bad.
In order to show that you can have less states of less good. and that could be the relevant or the reference point. So you don't need to go evil. I mean, the argument that I think J.R. Mackie gives against grievous suffering or gratuitous suffering is that why do you need so many people to die of malaria every year?
If you didn't know, can you answer? If you didn't know that there was good or evil at any level, could you even know that you are suffering?
I can't see why you wouldn't know. I mean,
how could you know?
Well, pain response would definitely be suffering.
Because those are terms that we have, and they're abstract terms which are associated with mental states. They're not associated necessarily with
pain.
Yeah, sure, but they're not necessarily identified. They're higher mental states, if anything. They're not lower mental states.
Could you reason?
Pain is a lower mental state, so I don't.
Do you think a fish reasons that he's suffering when he's hooked in the mouth with a fish hook, or does he just know he's in pain?
I think that's not.
I don't think fish feel
with
pain
nerves.
anywhere.
I think even
I think evolutionarily, their brains aren't. They sense damage, but I don't think it's anything like the pain that you or I would feel.
Because they don't have the knowledge of good and evil.
Well, I think they do because they react. They react to get away from it. So clearly they're aware that it's happening.
So I need a citation from you, James. Citation, please.
My hypothesis is, I'm not saying that what the thing is fishy, but my hypothesis is that good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, is reason. Okay. And until the fall, we didn't have reason.
Yeah. Well, in that case, you're saying that animals can't feel pain. So.
No, they can feel pain.
So you're saying evil's separate from sin, then?
I tried. I give up. I tried.
No, you're fine. We have, I'll say, 4 minutes. So we're going to wrap up our conversation. That'll bring us into 3:30. And then we will all do our outros. But it has been fun, ladies and gentlemen. We're now deep in theology, which I like. We were talking the 700 Club, but they're just so sleazy. They are just sleazeballs in general. Much better to have a warm theological conversation. So sending love to everybody in chat. And all right, ladies and gentlemen, we got 4 minutes and we're going into outros.
Yeah, so I would say that, evil is, so all sin is disobedience to God. What we are classifying evil as like suffering, pain, all of those things, that's not sin, right? Sin is disobeying God. No. The reason why, that's what sin is.
That's fine, but then you're saying that animals reason, right?
I'm saying animals don't necessarily reason.
Right.
They know they're in pain, but they don't know they are suffering.
Right. So they know that they suffer, but they don't know they're suffering.
Yeah, they know that they're in pain, right? They feel the pain, but they can't reason that this is suffering, that there's something better than this other than not being in pain, right? It's A or B, black and white, right?
I wouldn't agree with that. I think that animals do suffer and experience pain.
Sure, they suffer by our definition because we can reason suffering. But do you think that in their own minds they know the difference between just pain and not pain?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because they're averse to it. By their behavior, you can tell they're averse
because
to
they
it. But
can
they
learn.
Deal with shock a little differently. Like they're not as neurotic as we are, where we can be in like long-term shock, where it like eats their soul from the inside. Like they'll just sort of like twitch a few times and walk off like nothing happens. Gotta admire the animals.
You can get animals that have been traumatized by events, and they will have irrational fears of certain. Well, yeah, and I mean they've suffered due to, say, a whip or something, and have an irrational fear of that object.
Sure.
Even though it's not been. Well, how is that any different than the suffering that a human has?
Because they've experienced it. We can rationalize before we experience the pain that could be dangerous.
I don't think we can.
That's rational.
Yeah, I think that we get taught about certain things, and we fit that into our experiential understanding of things.
We can't use our intuition to find out that something is dangerous before it.
Well, we do after we've learned to reason through.
For instance, a tribesman from Africa isn't going to know that electricity hurts like a bitch, right? He's just not going to know that. But because we've been taught, hey, if you stick a fork in a light socket, it's going to zap the crap out of you. We understand that, and we can imagine it before we do it, but that doesn't mean that we automatically have that understanding innately or intuition. It means that we've been taught and we understand how this fits in with our world.
Right, because we can reason it, right?
Well, the African tribesmen could
and
reason it as well.
If you taught him, he could reason and learn it. But if
Sure.
Could a mother dog teach her baby puppy not to touch a light socket?
Sure, absolutely.
So here's
you
a
can
good
train a dog.
Sure, you can
good
train a dog.
example. The person that discovered that lightning was electricity had his manservant run up to the bottle in which he captured the lightning, and of course it frazzled him. Okay, because the manservant had no idea what electricity was. Okay.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show it doesn't matter how reasoned you are, if you are completely unaware of the ill effects of something, then you will fall foul of it, unless you're either lucky or whatever. So I don't understand that. Same with heat, right? I mean, all of us have been told not to put our hand in the fire, and yet all of us probably at one point have moved our hand towards a fire. Right?
I find it interesting. It's vegans and moral vegans and Christians who deny plants having a conscience. Because even Neff, when I was talking to him yesterday, he said plants don't have a conscience. And I find it interesting because
I think you mean consciousness, dear.
Yeah,
and
they don't.
That's what it says in the Bible, that all the animals are there for man to eat. So
I think this is is another topic, and probably best not to
John,
get
mute
onto.
me.
No, I think it's fine.
No,
outros.
It's time for outros.
We're about to do outros, yeah.
And I can't help myself. I'm a natural mime. You can hear me go, and okay.
But is she a super straight mime?
You like super straight. I like saying global homo. I don't know why. I want
Are you a global homo mime?
4 scope.
And I like saying Socratic gangbang. That's what I like.
Exactly. We all have. Oh.
Thank you, Jen, for that, by the way.
Yeah.
That will endure for long after we're gone.
And with that, we have been talking Midnight Ranting, the 700 Club. Hope you all had fun, and we are bringing in the mimes. Woohoo! What is up, Simos? Hope you had fun. Where we looked at, oh my lordy, the prosperity gospel.
Yeah.
But then we also talked about some theology and some back and forth. So hope you had fun. Where can people find you? What are your final thoughts?
Yeah, okay. So obviously my channel is Simon's Funk. And that's the usual YouTube stuff. If you put that in, you'll get to me eventually. Yeah, okay, so prosperity gospel, I've always felt particularly distasteful towards it, mainly because of the abuse that gets brought up all the time. I think mainly because this idea of churches getting rich leads to, well, power corrupts, right? Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. The richer they get, the more tempted they are to corruption. So, of course, it's almost human nature that that's going to happen. And yeah, I think that is one big problem in the States is the I don't know, what do they call it, the C50 or something, C60, I don't know. The bit that allows churches to go tax-free, and I think just treating them as charities.
501c3.
Thank you very much. I think that's a big problem. It wouldn't be so bad if the stuff that they gave to a charity was tax-free, right? But to actually have their earnings as tax-free, I think that is an issue, because there's no necessity for them to do charitable works, as is clear by the large sums of money that the leaders in these churches pay themselves. So I think that is a huge issue and something that does need to be sorted out in the near future. Also, the fact they made Scientology in a religion is just beyond understanding for me. But anyway, that's because I come from a very, unreligious society. So there we are. Although we do have a monarch, so hey, there we go. The second point, or the last point, really was I want to understand more about Will's position here and what it actually means to say that the world is as it is because that's how God wants it to be, and then expect that to, or expect the world then to hold a proof for God, because it seems to me that you're at least special pleading then, or begging the question, and that seems to me a defeater for a reason to believe God exists. So I would caution Will, and I would like to talk to him more about that. And apart from that, that's it. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Simos.
Thank you so very much, Simos.
Like me.
And all right.
Definitely.
We are moving down the line. Jen, we have been having fun. We have been talking about the 700 Club, where we looked at the prosperity gospel, and then we moved on to some theological back and forth. Hope you had a good time. Where can people find you? What are your final thoughts?
Thank you so much for having me, Amy and James and everybody else on the panel and everyone in the audience and mods. Loved it. My final thoughts are that I can't wait for the next one. Excited to see the channel growing. Love to see the positive vibes, I guess. Like anytime I see even, tiny bit of personal improvement, people, it just sort of warms the old heart. So it's great to see all the love. And I got my blog post. If it's possible to share that, I don't know, but I'll put it in the private chat again if anyone wants to check it out. I put a lot, poured my heart and soul into that one, so hopefully it helps with the grounding of the old metaphysics. And I'm gonna head off now and have a snack because I haven't eaten in a while. But thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing everyone again real soon.
Boom.
Have a good night,
So
Jen.
go check that out, and thank you so very much, Jen. And moving right down the line, Will, you can hear the gears in my head just turning. Will, I hope you had fun tonight on the 700 Club. I always love this topic just because it brings together the atheists and theists, but we also had some good back
Atheists
and
and
forth.
Calvinists.
Hey, I mean, nothing like good old non-believers and Calvinists to agree. Free will. Good luck with that. Anyway, Will, hope you had a fun time. Where can people find you? What are your final thoughts?
I mean, my final thoughts are so this whole new theory for me, it's pretty new. There's still a lot of scripture that I have to go over to see if there's anything that basically tells me I'm full of shit. So it's really, what has it been, Mark? Maybe 2 or 3 days. So I've haven't had a lot of time to really go through the majority of the text and see if there's anything that necessarily contradicts my theory here. So I just thought it was interesting. That's what my brain likes to do. It comes up with these weird logical questions, and then I have to go try and find the answer, right? So it's always fun. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then the prosperity gospel, that's garbage.
Oh, and one actual last thing. Ha ha ha.
Yep. So if you're not a Gooner and you want to come hear some people talk about English football, head on over to Will Stewart THSU Rants.
What's a Gooner? What's a Gooner?
Arsenal.
Am I a Gooner?
A lot of Arsenal fans.
Yeah, Arsenal fans are Gooners.
Oh, gotcha. All right.
Yeah. Eva mentioned it in the chat there. I don't know if she's a Tottenham supporter because Tottenham supporters aren't the only ones that call them Gooners. So.
And okay, thank you so very much. Go check out Will's channel for more bants. We can't help but love a good old banting while you're ranting. And all right, Simos, No,
Hello.
wait. You did it
Okay, I've
again.
done already. So.
I did it
Anytime,
again.
Simos. I'd love to chat with
Simos
you.
gets a double outro now. Is that what's going on?
Bubble. I can't help it. Like I said, you can hear the gears turning.
One for him, one for Otangelo.
Bubble, we have been having fun. I have to know now. You have to tell us in between the how are you doing and how did the journey go to remember, folks, I want you to know this, everyone. 7-Eleven is a part-time job. All right, moving along. I hope you
Tell us
had
about
fun.
the gnomes.
To have fun
Go to
tonight.
Alaska.
Why Alaska?
Apparently, that's where they've been seeing them. Allegedly.
Gnomes?
Allegedly, yeah. There's
Some people are saying.
You're like, yeah, there's certain places you can go to. Like, hey, you want to go see an alien? Hold on to your butt. We're going to Skinwalker Ranch. And you're most likely to see an alien there. Well, the spaceship. It's not going to come down and see you.
Of course, they're not going to come without a spaceship.
What I think about the whole, I do think Kenneth Copeland is an actual freaking demon. Just look at his face. It's just demonic features. This guy, I'm pretty sure he's possessed. He's definitely not doing good things behind curtains. I wouldn't be surprised if he's eating babies. That's it. It was fun. You can find me at Bubble Gum Gun Corp. I make just regular YouTube videos just for funsies. All right, that's it.
Woohoo! If you want, send me your link sometime.
By the way, 7-Eleven was closed. I am very disappointed.
It happened a lot now, man. I had a gas station the other day. They had no workers, and so the inside was closed. You could just get gas. That was it. This is getting bad here in the States, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It happened. It finally happened. 7-Eleven was a part-time job. All right.
Wow.
Nobody wants to work.
Oh, Jeebus. Anyway, moving along. Bye, Bubble.
Bubble.
Mark. Woo-hoo.
So good to talk to you all. Sorry, Amy, go ahead.
No, I hope you had a fun time. What are your thoughts about either the prosperity gospel or anything we've been talking about tonight, and where can people find you?
The prosperity gospel is I hate to say it, but it's an absolute scam. It basically takes money off people that can't afford it. It preys on their hope and their fears, and it's no better than a scam. People that are looking are desperate. They're desperate for any solution, any answer, and these absolutely sick individuals like Robert Patterson and the Creflo Dollar and all of these guys, they just prey on them, and it makes me kind of mad, to be honest with you. Churches should pay tax. They should get exemptions like anybody else if they are doing good for the community. And there are a lot of churches that do. Absolutely, there's a lot of churches that do. They should get tax exemptions, but the ones that are just accumulating wealth should be taxed like any other company. In fact, there's a company over here called Sanitarium. It makes me mad because they're owned by the Seventh-day Adventists, and they pay no tax whatsoever. They've got like $10 million a year income, and they pay no tax, even though it is just an ordinary business. It doesn't do anything that another business wouldn't. So the fact that they're not taxed is absolutely ridiculous. They actually make Wheat Bix, which is a huge breakfast cereal over here. So it actually makes, a lot of people mad that they don't pay any tax towards the country. I think I brought up
Weetabix.
Wheat Bix. It's just called Wheat Bix over here. I'm not even sure if it's the same stuff. Yeah. I really enjoyed talking with Will on his thing. I don't see the free will thing. I don't see as an internal critique. I don't know why it wouldn't work. It took me a while to get my head around it. I started sort of thinking of it like a time travel movie where you're at the end and everything's already happened. And I don't see why it wouldn't work. I don't believe it myself, of course. I don't see any reason to believe it. I don't know how Will would demonstrate it, even demonstrate it to himself kind of thing. But that would be interesting to see how he could I know he's not interested in showing anybody, but it'd be interesting to see what we would do to try and demonstrate it, I guess. Would be interesting. Thank you so much for having me on. I've had a really good time. Lots of laughs as usual. Love you all. Love talking with you. I will see you next time.
So, Mark, you got the debate with Ken Hovind coming up, right?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on.
Sorry to hear that. I hope everything's all right for you.
Is it Thursday?
I'm sure I'll get over it. Yeah, I think it's Thursday at like 8 p.m. I'll just check it.
We may have to do a show, an after show for that one.
Yeah,
That's
if you
gonna be a
want.
good debate.
If you want, that's.
We haven't covered a Kent debate in a while.
Yeah, well, I mean,
maybe
I
ask if you can get SFT to put in a link to it, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I don't see why not. Oh God, where'd I put it? I haven't lost it, have I?
That's what she said.
He's not up to 6 wives yet, is he? By any chance?
Can't help himself.
No.
No, I think
he's probably working on number 4.
The last thing that happened was he was arrested or something, as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
In July.
Yeah, I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he was trying to be like Henry VIII.
Yeah, but he's religious, so he'll get out. He's
get out of jail free card.
Didn't he go to jail too? For
He'll sell some more
or something like that.
He did, yes.
For 10
he's
years.
a taxivist.
It was for structuring,
sovereign
basically.
citizen.
So it's August 26th, this Thursday at 8 p.m. And that's Eastern Daylight Time.
Eastern U.S. time.
Yep, U.S. time. So that should be fun and interesting, and probably a lot of frustration.
Be what?
Oh, what's the debate?
2 hours.
Please, Mark?
The Ark, fact or fiction.
It's the Ark. I thought he lived next door to it.
I don't know. Look, I don't know where the. No, that's Ken Ham that did the
Ken
Ark
Ham is the one with the Ark. Okay.
Yeah, I know him because he's
an
Australian, and I'm so sorry for unloading that on you. All right, I am so sorry for Ken Ham. We should be ashamed of ourselves. But you guys have come up with Hovind and a few other gems. So yeah, yeah. So that's me, and that should be fun and interesting, and yeah. Should be great.
For about a 2-hour debate, probably.
I have no idea. Yeah, he sets up a schedule here. Yeah, about there. Yeah.
So maybe
which channel, just so we know?
Standing for Truth, apparently.
Oh dear, I am sorry.
I almost feel like you need to put a disclaimer on that because he does not stand for truth.
Well, I mean that's the name of his channel,
Yeah.
but I don't mind. I don't mind it. SFT. He doesn't annoy me that much. He's fine. I mean,
he's a nice guy. He's always been nice.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's wrong, but that doesn't mean he's.
Yeah.
I mean, I think plenty of people are wrong, and I still get along with them. So
yeah,
that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
All good. But I'll take your sympathy there, Simon. I will.
Good. I hope it gets you through the 2 hours.
Oh, and
Yeah,
I
it
will
will.
do you one better. Send in love to you, Mark, but also send in a link to the debate. So if you want to see the debate on Standing for Truth's channel, you can head right over there. And all right. Oh, I think. Oh,
And that debate will be a letter.
A letter. We're following water. You're going to buy my DVD. It's going to be on seminar number 1. And all right, Pat, we have been having fun looking at quite possibly the sleaziest version of theology. So I hope you had a good time along with the theological back and forth. Where can people find you? What are your final thoughts?
Well, I think whether or not you think the prosperity gospel is a bad thing or a good thing depends on your worldview. I just can tell you that it wasn't a concept in the early Christian church, which I've done some study of. So they're at least not practicing that tradition. Theologically, I enjoy the talks. I think defending the prosperity gospel is extremely difficult. I really don't think most modern Christians buy into it. And I think it does play upon kind of a certain segment of what we call the Christian demographic today, particularly those that maybe are a little more prone to equate some sympathetic systems, like in this case, magic. I give God a little bit, God will give me more, kind of a concept versus, it's all about the prayer and adulation and all that. Beyond that, if you want to get a hold of me, you can find some of my blog posts. I take some of my more academic journal articles and put them into a little more easier to read format. It's not that they're any less. I just take out some of the internal citations and stuff, so they're easier to read. You can do that. Find that at discoveringancienthistory.wordpress.com. And I also have a Twitter account, Pat Lowinger at Twitter. Pretty basic. I will be coming back here to do some videos with Amy. We're just figuring out a day at a time. And upcoming now officially, hopefully February, but maybe March of this year, I will have my book released. And that will be entitled Betrayed, the Orthodox Subjugation of Women in the Early Christian Church, and I'll be available through Simon & Schuster as the distributor. So more to come on that.
Could you just tell us about the urn behind you?
Oh, that'll be a bestseller, hopefully.
The what?
Urn.
It's not an urn. You mean, so it's a non-museum quality replica, right? So it's close, but not quite. Yeah, I can't bring anything back. So I have, for my students, I have some stuff I've picked up for some people that I know are pretty skilled in making replicas. So
brilliant.
So I can demonstrate.
They look lovely. Class. They really do.
Yeah, thanks. So I keep them up there.
Greek, presumably.
Yeah, well, obviously, yeah.
I just
red figure, right? So.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get you to talk about it a little. That's all.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're just repos, so I mean, I don't want to get into it too much. But yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can get them too. All right. That's really it. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Pat.
Maybe sometime I'll bring some. I have quite a larger collection than that. Maybe I'll bring them out one day. We can actually talk about them.
That'd be great.
You're too honest, Pat. You could have told us it's 2,000 years old and we would have believed that bullshit.
Yeah,
You're way too honest.
No, because then someone would have saw it and say, "He's that guy that was digging in Romania." Next thing I'd be the next Hobby Lobby fiasco.
Damn academic integrity.
Well, while we're on questions about the background, the Welsh flag.
It's my wife's.
Okay.
So she bought it for me, and I like it. It's cool, and she likes having it up. So
thank you. You got your own Greek flag over there somewhere.
Yeah, back up over
there. You go.
There's my Greek flag, and then there's my dad's burial flag. That's it.
Well, sending so much love, Pat. Thank you for coming on as always. And all right, James, I'm handing you the keys. I feel
designated
like
driver.
Yeah, and I feel like we needed our windshield wipers to watch that video. So
it was one for the ages. Yeah, I watched quite a few of them, but that one just seemed to stick out as perfectly illustrative of the point we were trying to make. So hope everybody liked it. And yeah, 700 Club. Thanks everybody for being part of the channel, continuing the support. We love you guys. And yeah, good discussion tonight. And we'll be back shortly. So thanks everybody.
Woohoo!
Yep.
I hope you all had a fun time on this episode of Midnight Ranting. Awoo, ladies and gentlemen, awoo. The 700 Club, where we celebrated 700 members by watching a video of Kenneth Copeland and Pat Robertson on the 700 Club, reflecting on their friendship, love, and bank accounts.
How rich they are. Yep.
I want
like seeing two rich guys brag about being rich.
Oh, I know. Nothing like trying to outrich themselves for Jesus, right? I want to thank my co-host, James W., along with our guest, Pat Lowinger, Mark Reed, Bubble, Will Stewart, Jen, and Simos Funk, along with our awesome mods who make this stream so great, the people in chat, and our lovely viewers who make all of this possible. If you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Then hit that bell icon so you can join our live streams. After the show, we will be heading over to the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below. So come join the community. Lastly, if you'd like to help us make even more fun content, feel free to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I am Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everyone.
Put a shirt on,
guys.
Hang on a minute.
Oh my!
There's no mention of Gödel's incompleteness theory in this envelope.
Damn you, Gödel's incompleteness theory!
Where's Claire when you need her?